says.
What is up, beautiful people? Welcome to How to Trade, formerly known as That Midday Show. That is your girl Adara, and I'm Sharif, and we're going to wait for everyone to come on over from the other stream. Lots to talk about today, lots of market moves. We'll keep an eye on things. Shout out to Market Sniper. We got Mr. Jonathan, an easy trader, joining us as well. Bot Rakes and Odyssey Fights. Shout out to the world's greatest moderator, Bears versus Bulls. We got 605 and Blind Leader. We got Mr. Jonathan Balanambi, Christopher Holcomb, Hey Davis, So's Trader Drew. We got MB3, Scalper J, Blue Arrow, Caesar Sandoval. We got TH Gorev, Darwin, Cass, BJ, Zed, as well as Just in Time. All right, let's get right to it because things are moving here and we should probably talk about it. So Upstart, I'm not sure exactly what happened here with UPST, but I see you guys talking about it in the chat. This one really started zooming aggressively here right at about a half an hour ago, broke through that 37 3/4 on its way, looks like here to $40, up about 7% on heavy volume. I don't see anything on my chart. So keep your eye on Upstart. It is moving on the day. Lots, again, obviously to talk about as the market is bouncing back here with the NQ going positive on the day, up a quarter point, still lagging behind the ES Adair. Good morning. What are you looking at?
Good morning. How are you?
Good.
Yeah, good, thank you. I am in two trades. They're both in the money. Already took profit on Meta, dollar in the money. So please just punch with that. Basically, Meta was one I don't trade very much. I talked about this. I've talked about this quite extensively. I want to shout out Sharif because I know Sharif is, really dope at trading Meta. Meta's one that, I'm not going to lie, does sometimes give me the heebie-jeebies because of that spread. But basically what happened was I was trading this one a little bit last week. Did have some trades off that with that 530 rejection after that reversion. Very, very fitting that we had OB on Friday and we had a bit of a reversion there in Meta with that pop here. So basically the point I'm trying to make is I had levels I liked on it. So I definitely was ready to kind of strike. I initially was looking for that 530 rejection. 530 rejection came and went long before I sat down at this here desk. But then what we got that was pretty spicy was this kind of push into 527, bit of a pre-market top here, and then we try to hold it. We get above there, bouncing off the 90 EMA with that bottoming tail candle. I said, yeah, I like that. Took the long, got out the vast majority of the position here. So very, honestly, in terms of fractions, it's pretty much the entire position here at 528. I saved a scintilla for the dream in case I want to add here. If we get below 527s, I'm getting out break even for the rest of this. Please just punch with what I did, but we're holding here and bouncing pretty nicely. If we get back above VWAP here around 527.50s, might add a little bit here as well. So that is the look there for Meta. Amazon, my second trade that I'm in here. Oh boy, I like that 177, really intense support, really intense resistance. Then we make a higher low. I'm like, okay, once we get above that 177, you can risk into 177, take that long. Happy with these trades right now. Again, in the money, both of them here, though Meta, I would like you to kind of continue to rustle up here. But it's more important than stocks. Well, not more important, but as important as stocks and important to understanding for stocks is learning about said stocks. Lesson times. Let's go. Thank you, Sharif, for putting this together.
Let's talk about these moving averages. Today, we're going to talk about understanding the moving averages in general with SMAs and EMAs on the docket. In case you don't know what those acronyms stand for, simple moving average and then exponential moving average. We'll be talking about basically moving averages for the next 2 weeks, and then we're going to talk about some of the derivative indicators that use moving averages as its foundation. So let's start as we typically do. What is a moving average, MA? So essentially a moving average is a technical analysis tool that's used to smooth out price data over a specified period of time, okay? It helps you identify trends and helps you ID support and resistance levels as well. And by averaging past prices, moving averages can certainly help you filter out short-term noise and reveal the underlying trends. So that's typically what we're using moving averages for, whether exponential or simple. Let's start with the simple though. So as the name indicates, the simple moving average is the most basic type of moving average. It's calculated by adding the closing price. Again, it's the closing price here, hence why I stress closing price a lot, over for security over a specified number of periods, and then dividing it by that number. For example, so your SMA is going to be price 1 plus price 2 plus price 3. So if you're doing a 14-day moving average, you're doing that 14 times. You're adding all the closing prints for the past 14 days, and then you're dividing it by that number. That's a simple formula. So example, a 10-day SMA, you'd be adding the closing prices of the last 10 days, and then you divide the number by 10. Super simple, nothing really complicated about that. The key points, though, about the simple moving average is that it gives you, it gives equal weight, to all data points. It doesn't more heavily weigh or more lightly weigh any of the closing prints. We'll talk about that in a second. But it also lags behind the price changes, due to its calculation method, and it's often used to identify long-term trends as opposed to, having the emphasis more on the recent price action. Perfect segue to the exponential moving average, which is used by more short-term traders for more heavily weighting the more recent prices. So we'll talk about that in a sec. So the exponential moving average, EMA for short, places more weight on recent price changes than on the older prices. This makes it more responsive to price changes compared to the SMA, and its calculation is beyond the scope of this lesson. All you really need to understand is the EMA is calculated using a smoothing factor. The formula is more complex, obviously, than the one for the SMA, but it involves assigning higher weights the more recent prices, hence why it is used by the shorter term traders, or liked more by shorter term traders. Some of the key points about the EMA, the exponential moving averages, gives more weight, as we said, to the recent prices, but it also reacts faster to price changes than does the simple moving average. And the EMA is often used, again, as I alluded to earlier, for shorter term trading, which helps you identify those shorter term trends and shorter term trend changes. So comparing the simple moving average to the exponential moving average. So SMA, as you probably were able to glean, is better suited for long-term trends due to its smoothing effect. However, the exponential moving average is more responsive to price changes, thankfully, and is preferred by many traders, shorter-term traders, for shorter-term analysis. So here's basically an example. If we could just give me an opportunity to load that. Yeah, it doesn't look like I can, so I'll load it up next time around. But that's basically it. Essentially, what we're looking for here is just to understand what these moving averages are, and then we'll get a little bit more nuanced with it as the day goes on, Adair.
Yeah, and I think one thing, too, that I want to shout out Sharif for, in addition to thank you for always preparing the lesson, is sometimes you'll notice like themes on the day. Like Sharif said and he said this, I remember last week, there'll be some days where you'll have like all of these Mag 7 names, for example, coming into contact with I know you use the 10 EMA, right? So they'll come into contact with the 10, do interesting things. Sometimes they'll avoid all the moving averages. So noticing patterns as well for what some of these stocks or some of these indices are doing with these moving averages can be key here as well. I did get out of Meta here at 520, just above 527s. Basically, I was like, I know I said I was going to wait for break even, but I just did not like the way we were moving down. I said, Adara, this is still spreada. You could be happy with it and still have it be spreada. You already took $1 on this. Like, just get this last piece out. So happy I didn't add because I didn't have enough confidence to add. So I decided to get out there. But also, there is Amazon, which is still cooking here. I added at 39s. I added like half the position, got out half at 50s because we were pausing a little bit there. Added at 39s because I did like some of the wicks kind of into this range earlier. Thought I was cool with that. Holding above VWAP pretty decently here. I will be, honestly, like I would love to see what we do at 177.80s. If we get to 177.80s, if we can't break above 177.80s, I'll cut everything there. I'd be pleased as punch. If we get above that, like retest hold, I will be getting long, or I'm already long. I'll be adding at 177.80s because look at that support resistance flip. Chef's kiss. Also, in terms of where my stop loss is now, I'll be getting out if we get below 177.28. So I'll just get out break even. I'm cool with that. Like I said, I thank you, Sean, for pointing this out earlier. Something I've really been trying to do recently is trying to add to the positions, build to the positions, and try to bulk up in my trades. And if there's any stock you're looking at, get into that chat. Let us know. ! Join. Space, $, whatever tickers your fancy. And in that case, you'll be able to have Sean and Neil, the confidence and the Neilage, give you their insights on their trade. But I see you were involved in a Mag 7 name. You were munching on some Apple over here right now, Sharif.
Yeah, I want to talk more about these small cap gappers, though. So we've got a lot on the board here, so let's get right to it. Lots of triple-digit names. There's 3 in triple-digit territory today, the least of which, or the The smallest of which I should say is APDN, up 206% with a high of 285. Here's the details. $25 million market cap, 154 million shares traded today, and about 8.7 million share float. Let's find out what the short float is. APDN on Trade Idea. Shout out Michael Moss and his analysis today on these Chinese ADRs. About 7.5% of this name is shorted. Be careful with this one. Well off the highs. I like this area over here for an area hold or, an area support hold at $2.37. This was the pre-market high. We broke that just a little while ago. Let's see if we can hold up at this 240, 230, essentially around this area here. This is a pre-market high APDN. Good luck. The other one that's triple digits, ALZN. This is the number one ticker on my scanner. Off the highs, high was around 15. We're still above the volume weighted average price. Looks like we are trying to hold that $10 area with a double bottom right at 10. So here's the look. $9.5 million market cap, 52.5 million shares traded on the day with a float of 5.3 million shares. Let's find out what the short float is for this one. So this one is ALZN. ALZN. This one, about 0.5% of the entire float is short, so not much to speak of there. And last but not least, we have VRAX. Obviously, there's more than these triple-digit winners in small cap land, but we're going to talk about the triple digit winners first. $9 right now is the market high. It's coming in to a key area of support. Number one, this $6.5, $6 1/3, $6.25 area. That was a pre-market high. We're also inching in quite close to that halt area initially at around 6.15, 6.14. Here's the look on this one. VRAX, excuse me. This one is $16.25 million market cap. The float on this one is 70 million shares traded on the day. And let's find out what the short float or the float is. 1.7 and change million shares. And last but not least, let's find out what the short float is on this one. 3.76% of the float is shorted, so we'll keep tabs on these ones. Personally, I like this LPSN one. It's really continuing to go up. Here comes 1 3/4, up 25%, not the biggest mover on the day, but certainly ones that I'll keep an eye on. There's so many others mentioned. Upstart, there's Fubo, there's also ASTS as well as TGTX. So no shortage of small cap gappers to talk about today there.
Yeah, so many. Also shout out as well to Willis Addison, $2 super chat. Bought the dip, mom, crown emoji, and a little smiley emoji for a scalp. 1090 ALZN with a little salute. Yeah, salute you. Thank you so much, Willis Addison, for all your support for this show. ALZN, you are about like 10 cents to flat. This thing moves really quickly, so it's been moving around here. But yeah, 1090, certainly seeing some chop and some churn around that level. I know Sean was involved in this name earlier today. That is one of our little small cap buddies there. A to the L, to the Z, to the N. We have Gail Beck saying, and I think this is an interesting assertion, or at least observation I want to be aware of now here too. Seems like around 10:15 a.m. almost every day seems like the time to buy. It's really interesting. That's something I want to keep an eye on here, because you do notice we start to have those moves up in the market. Let's pull up the cues here. Also, ALZN moving down a bit there. Do have the cues right now taking a bit of a move to the downside, which got me out of Amazon. I got out of that flat. I said I'd be getting out break even. Got out break even, took some profit on part of the position though. But anyways, the TQs, yeah, around this 10:15, that's when you start to see that really sharp candle to the upside, right after a little bit of chop and turn. So interesting look there. What about the S&P 500? With Bears vs. Bulls call me Spy Dara. Sometimes I will scalp Spy. I actually have some levels I like on the Spy, and they were long gone. They were going to be 555. And 554.70, because that was a bit of a range earlier. And the SPY was like, yeah, I don't care about your range, to the upside. But yeah, again, this buying starting here right before 8:30. So I do want to shout out Gail Beck with that very interesting observation. Something, again, you want to build more data. Shout out to science. You want to have a larger database, data set before you start to look directly at that. But I think that's a really interesting note. IWM, breaking my heart a little bit here, because I was like, oh, I like this flat top break. This looks dope. I want to get involved. I get my order. We're like around 213.90s. We're trying to break 90s at the time. I was like, okay, let's get involved. 213.70s. We're risking to 213.60s. Like, look at this kind of resistance support. You're risking 10 cents for a breakout. I'm cool with that. And IWM was like, yeah, I don't really care what you're cool with. I will not be filling you. Once we got above 214, I was like, no, you're not getting filled here. Get out, break, wait, chill. If we come back to retest 213.90s, that could maybe be a trade, but I'm going to wait there. I don't want to be rushing into anything. Happy with the trades I've had so far today, but they really just have come from, in both cases, Meta especially having levels from the previous day, and Amazon just having levels that set up the day before. Amazon looking like it's trying to take a bit of a swan dive here below VWAP, in which case I don't mind flipping the style up here and taking this as a, okay. I like that we're below VWAP here as a short. I want to see what we do at 177s, because as I said, that 177s resistance support flippity-floppity is going to be pretty huge for me. 177s was also a level that we chopped around quite a bit in like kind of a baby range there on Friday. So I have eyes on Amazon. What else is everyone looking at here? Is it data or data says, let's flip and go 98? I think it really depends on the person. It's definitely not dada. Shout out to that awesome animation from Brendo. But it's data or data. Either way here. But yeah, interesting notes there for sure. Either way, whether you call it data or data, you always want to make sure that you have more, and that's why I think taking notes is really helpful, reflecting, and also if you want any more input before you get involved in that trade, get into that chat, ! Join, space, $, ticker. Maybe it's Intel. Maybe you want to get the Intel and Intel from Neil and Sean. Maybe you want to talk about that. I suspect quite a few small caps are going to be on that list today, Sharif, because we were just going over that small cap. I think there's definitely some names to be on this thing because, a lot of times you get Nvidias, we get Apples, we get a lot of the names we'll already talk about. But what about some tickers that we don't talk about every day, like ALZN, like the VRAX? So maybe you made some racks on VRAX. You want to talk about it, whatever ticker it is. ! Join, space, $, ticker. Rogelio mentioning UPST. Yeah, Upstart certainly got started up here. Little bit of, I was looking for news here. It just seems like a lot of social media interest. They also have a decent short float. I'm also seeing apparently that there's like some strong impulse waves. So shout out to Elliott Wave theories. Apparently some speculation Upstart's riding this Elliott Wave here up about 7% right now to UPST. Got started a while ago, but it'll be interesting to see what we do here as we get to that chop and churn around 39.28.
Cost is on watch here today as it's moved up quite aggressively with no news. This one is being watched by Roaring Kitty. Closed out at 7.55. Out on Friday, the high today, 8.55. So it's up $1 and at 12 1/3. I should let you know that it's doing really light volume, about 230,000 shares. So be careful with this one. No news item. So I'm going to keep my eye on some of these small cap gappers. Let's go back to them over here and have a look. So ALZN is coming into that $10 area, which could be interesting. It's been down there before, double bottom at 1040 and 1045, and now it's put in lower highs. So this one could be setting up for flat bottom break through that volume weighted average price, which is really depending on where you're looking. Right now, it's at 970, was a little bit lower before, likely be a bit higher by the time we touch it. So this one looking like it wants to give back its profits. VRAX, despite the fact that it's up very aggressively on the day, is bouncing off that area of technical support, 650. That's the pre-market high we just finished talking about. Nice move into $7 at the moment, but also putting in lower highs with that flat bottom now being tested 3 times here in the last hour, or half an hour, I should say, or almost an hour, actually. This $6.50 area, this was the low of this candle here at 640, then the candle at 1055, 646, and then this one 651. So technically incrementally higher lows, but all bouncing off the same area. VRAX, really good look right now for whoever wants to get into that. A bit of more of a subdued move up, despite the fact that it's up really big on the day, is ASTS. This is a holdover from Thursday. I was trading this before I went on vacay on Friday. 36.47, the high of the day, essentially 36.5. That's a triple top there. We initially touched that at 10.2 and then got into it again at 5 after. And here we are just touching it again right now. So good look right now, guys, as we look to get into that area as well. So, guys, I'm going to do the ad read. So, are you tired of being late to the trade? Are you always playing catch up in the market? Are you missing out on the big moves? I got it here, Ram. because you're too slow to the news. Benzinga Pro is your unfair advantage. Get breaking news alerts up to 30 minutes before everyone else and pinpoint exactly why stocks are moving. And join a thriving community of traders who share their strategies in real time. Are you ready to see how Benzinga Pro can transform your trading? Visit benzinga.com/pro and get your free 14-day trial today. So shout out to them. Let's go back here and load up ASTS because it's quite directional at these levels, and I'm going to want it on a trading screen. So ASTS gave you the deets on this one earlier, inching its way into 37.5. The volume weighted average price on my 5-minute chart's around 35.74. I won't be in until it touches the 10 exponential again, Adair.
Yeah, this is ASTS. I know we were calling this ASTIS, and we were debating over whether or not to call this ASTIS actually on the market recap. And Ryan was like, Ryan Faluna, shout out to Benzinga as well, because he is up there from Benzinga. He was also talking about ASTIS and how he was trading it. So really interesting notes there on how sometimes things don't go as planned. Check out the market recap on Friday for that reflection with Neil and myself and Ryan. I got into Palantir here. Palantir? I don't know. But I liked these lower highs and I liked the flat bottom break. Now, my thing was, I peer over. This thing's at 32s. I was like, I don't want to short this at the bottom. And the reason I didn't want to short it at the bottom is because the level I wanted to risk into was 32.17. So I know it's really specific, but that was where we had a little bit of some shelfy action here earlier. So I said, Adara, don't chase into this. If you get your 32.11s, 32.10s, get involved there, but definitely don't try to rush it. We have that pop up. And look where we freeze. 32.10s. I said, hey, Palantir, cool. Risking 6 pennies here, looking to add as we get into 32s. Now, you might be like, Adara, where is your profit-taking levels be? Well, as you use a Shrevism, oh, baby, you've got quite a few. If I'm risking like 7 pennies, I honestly feel pretty comfortable here. I like that 31.90 area for some chop and turn potentially to add, but I would look to start taking profit if we get into that 31 mid-70s. Then, to me, the big white whale level, the AAPL level, if you will, that 31.50s. Bit of a double top we had going back here into August 15th. So that would be like Thursday. So I like this look. This is something I like here. I think I was looking as well in the 10-minute time frame, and there's some stuff I like there as well. So looking to add for sure at 32s if we break below 32s, potentially at 35s. But like I said, I've really been, or not 35s, 32.05s. But like I said, I've really been trying to get more aggressive with the trades. I think as you learn, as you grow, you want to be like adding, you know, like when you work out, you want to be adding to the plates, right? Adding to the weights. Shout out as well just for Shreve, they're trading that meta. Hope you print, as you always say there to me. Hopefully Zuck doesn't play Zuck Zuck Goose with those beak wetters. We're going to put that out there here as well. We've also got Nvidia normally fails during lunchtime, says MICY. 126 is too heavy to break today. I think that's, really interesting. Let's take a look at Nvidia. Not one that I've looked at much on the day, though I did spot the way that we had that 125 earlier. I saw that this morning. I was like, definitely an interesting one to be aware of. And I like as well, we have this kind of bounce here at 125.60. So we had a bit of a top here, a wick base to 125.60s. Then we come back down, wick into 125.60s. This is a pattern, though, that always makes me a bit nervous. When you've got that move down, and then you have a big sharp green candle or a big sharp red candle if it's the opposite. I always want to wait and see, like, hey, what do we do in the candle after this? Because sometimes it can just be an attempt to get back to that move, have a bit of like an engulfing, and then push back down. That being said, as I'm talking, Nvidia has jumped a cool 20 pennies since I started talking. So do your thing, 21, Nvidia. Do your thing, 126. High of days right now, 120. I'm seeing 126.69. That must be on a wick basis because on the chart, we're actually approaching them here around 126.30s. Thank you very much for the kind words here in the chat, guys. Shout out to Tony. I appreciate it. Really trying to improve here every single day. And if you guys want to improve, it always helps. I know I've been shouting this out a lot, but really make sure to get your tickers in there to vote so you can see Sharif and Sean and Neil and that green screen and things happening there. Palantir trying to bounce a bit off 32s. Let's be aware of that. Let's see what happens here. Tesla also bouncing. Tesla trying to drive, to steer right back into that 220 area. Shout out to Obio. Had some pretty dope Tesla puns there and some dope Tesla trades. Tesla 219 bounce. That's interesting. If we reject that 220, That'd be interesting because we had that chop and turn at 220. It's also 220. But yeah, shout out to the Tesla puns, the Tesla trades, and to everybody here. What are you doing over here?
All right, so we're looking at ASTS over here. Good move up on this day. In it right now at about the $0.25. Looking at taking it out at 40s. We'll give this one a little bit of room as it zigs and zags. Let's see if we can get the fill around here. Here comes the 40s. Good strength on ASTS today. It's not, you know, the number one gapper certainly on the day, but up a healthy, a respectable 17%. We're still flat on Meta, so the break of the $0.50 is going to get me out of here, so we're going to pack our patience. But it's really about ASTS. If we can get some volatility going through this flat top, there does seem to be a bit of a seller at 40 pennies for whatever reason, so we'll give this one to about 36 bucks. Even though, yeah, the low there, if you want to have a bit more of an aggressive entry into ASTS, the local low there is around 35.60 or so. So if you want to place your stop below the nearest low, it's going to have to be about that 35.60, give or take, at around there. It's about you know, a 6 penny spread at times. It's getting into that 40 penny level and really having a hard time breaking it. So we'll keep packing our patience with this one. Sometimes a little bit above that $0.50, sometimes a little bit below, but really it's that 40 penny level that we keep seeing come in as a flat top resistance level. So packing my patience with this one, but now about flat as it, you know, a healthy retracement into the 10 exponential moving average. So keep eyes on that. But there is still this one over here, ALZN, continuing to hover around that $10 area. The $10 area is a little bit above the volume weighted average price. So if you've been sitting here like I have at 975 waiting for this one to get filled, you've basically gone unfulfilled over here as the lows have been coming a little either above 10 bucks or right at that $10 area. But this one is going to be a range play for me until it breaks above on a closing basis of $12 or breaks below $10 on a closing basis. So it really doesn't matter to me how this resolves. Just packing my patience, see exactly what we can get here. So ASTS is coming below 36, so we're going to have to get out of that. So that one will take a bit of an L on. We do get the fill on Meta nicely there for about a 35 penny winner. We'll still hold on to some over here. We'll see if we can come up into that 528 area, but 525.50 is going to be basically the stop over here on META. Just packing my patience. I know for certain that there is resistance at 526.5. You initially had resistance there at around 1030. At 526.5, and now you're getting it again. If I could say so, we possibly getting a bit of a head and shoulders here on the 1 minute, possibly on META, but it's not coming in the most ideal of circumstances. Typically, when we like to see these head and shoulders patterns, there has to be an aggressive up move for the head and shoulders to be valid because it's a reversal pattern, but it doesn't always work out that way. In any event, if we get that 525, excuse me, and a half break, I will be looking to get short on META. We're just going to pack our patience, see how this one wants to resolve. If it wants to go to the high side, we'll take it back to the high side. So it looks like I got weaseled out of ASTS here as it's right back above 36 bucks. Should have been putting my stop a little bit lower than there to give this one room. It's awfully volatile on the day, 16.5%, and it was volatile on Thursday as well. And right back up it goes, right into my entry. So ASTS, even though we were wrong on it initially, doesn't mean that I won't be trading it again. It's still well above the 10 exponential on the 5. In fact, it hasn't breached on a wick basis or closing basis or otherwise on the day. This is on the 5-minute chart, excuse me, the only time that it actually breached the 10 exponential, and that's not even really a breach. It was the opening range print right at 930. It zagged, and then it chose a direction, and it hasn't looked back since. So every single retracement, again, wick, closing print, or otherwise, I don't even know if there's an otherwise, has bounced off the 10 exponential on the 5, and that gives me a lot of confidence in trying to get something off this, even though we started 0 for 1 on it. So packing my patience with this one, see what we can get there. Meta back down below that 525 and change. If this breaks a $0.50, I'm going to look to get short on this one. It's setting up as a possible head and shoulders here, dear.
Yeah, shout out to that. I like what you had to say there about both of those stocks. Sometimes you got to switch things up, and also with regards to that, yeah, the ASTS, sometimes small caps get a little herky-jerky, and then you just got to take it, move on to the next trade, so or to the next look there. So I like that shout out there. That. I'm still in Palantir. I know I was going to wait for 32s to add, but we got back up to 32.10s, which is my entry point, and we rejected this just beautifully, gorgeously, magnificently, dare I say. So we get back to 32.05s, and I was like, you know what? You break below here, Palantir. I would like to add some if we're pretty Palin clear. And Palantir was like, I don't have to do that for you, though. It didn't fill me. I still have my, very, very few shares being added here at 32.05. I'm just trying to build into the position. Like I said, I'm going to add a nice little chunk there at 32s. Should we break there? Another breakdown I'm looking for here is on Zim integrated shipping. Now, Zim integrated shipping, shout out to Sean was saying that apparently this is one of the top names that's been traded on the day, which is pretty cool here at Real Trading, or at least our office, shout out there. But look at this little breakdown with these lower highs. And I'm going to switch to the 3 minute. I think it might be clearer on the 3 minute. It is, okay. So look, I use the 3 minute on the big desk. Look at these pops here, just 30 or 23.30s. 23.20, sorry. I like these higher lows. I saw this. I saw us nudge into this when I was at the big desk, and I said, Adara, you better take the 23.20 break. And Zim's like, what do you mean? I'm already going to break it. So pushes above, has a bit of a false breakdown lower here, bounces off 23s. Now it's coming back down. I like the idea of this as a short. If we get to that 23.20s and we fail it, you could risk it. I'd probably risk it here into some of these lower highs, like 23.55, so risking about 30 pennies. I would, again, want to work on the risk to reward, but I'm just watching, waiting for this to set up here on the side chart. Not a lot of volume in this name. I do want to shout out Tam Panda in the chat saying that with these breakout trades, really make sure, or breakdown trades, make sure you're watching out for volume to see if it's kind of increasing as we have that move down. Right now, both Palantir and Zim integrated shipping kind of more lackadaisical volume, a little bit lower, a little bit chill, a little bit lower key. So we do have, kind of these topping tail candles, though, giving me a bit of confidence, whatever you want to say here. Let's wait and see here if we can do that confidence dance and we can be chilling over here if we wick shimmy as we get back basically to flat here, slightly above my average here of 32.09s on the Alex Karp one. Elon in the chat saying, Bon voyage, ASTS. Yeah, ASTS, what is ASTS up to? AS Space Mobile. Hopefully that spaceship did not crash. Okay, we're up 16.5% here, around that 36 level. What else are we doing here? Yeah, I mean, Bon voyage, I guess, maybe to the upside. Maybe that's what you meant by that. Yeah, I think that support resistance flip at 36 is pretty clear. Let's see what we got going on here. Now people are wondering, apparently, if Neil was on PokerStars. Is this a thing? People are mentioning this. Neil, someone said, was Neil on PokerStars or am I seeing things? Neil says you are, but I'm curious now. And Bears vs. Bulls apparently also getting into the action. So let's, we'll take a gamble on whether or not that happened. Right now we're flat on Palantir. How goes the meta?
Yeah, we're out of the money on this remaining amount over here. But if it breaks the $0.50, I've already set my out to actually flip short. So what we're looking for is the break of that 525.5. We've been defending that area since about a quarter after the hour, so about 15 minutes worth of room here, all with lower highs. So if we get that flat bottom break, I'm looking to go short through that 4.0 area, 525.40. The future is trying to hold up here near highs, not at highs, but very close to the high of the session, not the overnight high. 19,688 is the overnight high. 19,678 is basically the high print that we put at 11 a.m. We're just after 11 a.m. today. So we're weaseling into those. I'd have to submit to you guys that it's likely Nvidia and Tesla that are really keeping this market up at the moment. You're seeing the likes of Google also up 1.5%, but off the highs. It's really not Apple. It's not Amazon. It's not Meta. It's certainly not Microsoft that are keeping these guys afloat. So it's going to be these three over here, this L-shaped, Google, Tesla, and Nvidia so far. And you don't really need to look far to see Nvidia is right back at the high of day 126.77. It is really on the way up. Let's zoom out here, see if we can figure out exactly where to expect a possible area of resistance on NVDA. And since we're at 127, we're going to have to look to anything at the whole dollar there. No, in fact, not really a whole lot. Maybe some things over here from mid-July, nothing that I want to put too much stock into. It's really going to be more about that $130 area if and when we do make it back up to that price. So NVIDIA awfully strong on the day, single-handedly keeping this market I would assume from, being a little bit more red than it is right now. So Meta still defending that 525 area. We still didn't get short. We didn't get stopped out. I'm looking for something around 528. If I'm going to hold this position to the long side, if we break down below 525.5, I'll be looking to test something around these lows, maybe not exactly 523, but it is a long time now for this $500 name to be ranging sideways here, the better part of about 20 minutes or so, undecided whether it wants to claim 526 on a closing basis, or whether it wants to give way at that level. So we're going to have to see exactly what we get here with Meta, but very indecisive at the moment, not really taking out any major levels that it's put on the day, whether to the low side or the high side. So packing my patience there. Let's look quickly at the Nvidia chart, because there wasn't a whole lot in terms of resistance levels ahead of where we are right now. But if we are to retrace, where would an area of interest be here on Nvidia? And for the first area I'd be looking at is this 126.25. There is this double top over here on the 5-minute chart at around 11 that we held up at before breaking through that area here at 11.25. So the first area is 126.25, and that also kind of jives with the 10 exponential on the 5. The next area I'm going to be looking at, if it does make its way down there, is at 125.75 to 125.50. There is this IB high there that we put in at 9:50 a.m. that we couldn't break until about 10 to 11 or so when we broke through that area. So a couple of areas that you could get in on NVDA if it does give you the opportunity here. I'd say 126.50, or sorry, 126 and a quarter, and then you're going to have to look at 125 3/4 to about 50 or so if it does make its way down there. Tesla also as well here did get a beautiful bounce off the volume weighted average price right at 11.15. If you had a resting order in and around there, because it doesn't look like it hung out at that area for all that long, but you're well on the money here, about $1.50 in the money if you were able to get that print super quick. It's not really jumping off that level with any vigor, but a nice $1.50 move off 219, just touched 220.50. But there is some resistance here at that 220.5, and I'm not sure exactly what to make of it. Initially, we were breaking through that level only to come back down to close below that level. Now we're having trouble even printing anything above the 50 penny level, even on a wick basis. Forget about closing above there. So for whatever reason, it looks like someone selling at 220.50 on TSLA, Adara.
Yeah, you know what else might be selling, might be getting acquired here? We're seeing, I want to clarify, I have not seen any confirmation of this. It's just circulating around Twitter, and the people circulating are also sharing it with the caveat that they are not sure if this is legit, but there are some rumors circulating that Tesla is acquiring Maxian Solar. Again, no confirmation, not seeing any confirmation of this, so I say this with a huge caveat. I'm keeping an eye on that, though, but shout out to Charlie Taft there asking me. I've seen some other mentions of it as well. Not seeing any confirmation, so I do not want to report on it yet, but lots of speculation there of the potential MAXN acquisition. I'm in 2 trades right now, and I want to talk about them. So I got into CrowdStrike as a short, and it's funny because I was looking at this CrowdStrike. I had it pulled up, and I was like, hey, let's say what we do here. If we get to 265.50s, like, I don't know, I was British there. I like that kind of little rejection top. I was like, okay, sweet. If we fall below there, I think that's a cool look. It's also kind of rejecting that previous area of chop and turn, right? And then CrowdStrike falls violently while I'm looking at it. A little bit of a volume pop there as well, relatively. I was like, okay, cool. So I get involved 265s. I'm risking this into like 265, 60s, giving this about 60 cents. It's CrowdStrike. It's spreadier. You do need to give a little bit of room. I could be wrong on this. Could just be like a quick sell-off and then back to business as usual. But I think it's interesting that it had that sell-off as we pushed higher in the Qs. There's something to me that's a little bit interesting here happening in CrowdStrike. Palantir, meanwhile, did kind of spook me out a little bit. I'm not going to lie. Palantir had me shaking in my boots, just a skosh, like a little mild quiver, because we pushed up here to 32.14s. And I was like, Adara, 32.17s, that's your level. Don't budge. Don't move yet. Wait, breathe. Take deep breaths, calm down, and chill. So waiting here for Palantirs, like I said, if we get below 32s, absolutely I will be adding to this, because I think if we have that breakdown, we do have some room to quadunk. But in the meantime, I'm going to have to get a grow out of CrowdStrike, because CrowdStrike was like, yeah, Adara, so you thought we were going to break down. Cool. Did not happen at all. Good times there. You got to try things. Did try with a bit of size, because I had that confidence, and it ended up all being for naught. Maybe I could have risked a little bit more here because it looks like now we might still be rejecting, but we'll see what happens here. You do miss 100% of the shots you don't take. And again, I'm trying not to trade for P&L. I'm trying to trade for progress and learning. Happy I attempted it. Right now, Palantir is like, hey, Adara, don't get too upset. I'm still Palin here. I'm still pushing to the downside. So thank you, Palantir. Much appreciated there. AMD to just reject, says Kling Daddy, question mark. Yeah, let's see if we did have that rejection there in AMD. Still up 3% on that acquisition news. And Sharif and I were saying this morning, this is a really good look for Lisa Su. I said maybe she'll start being able to wear some gold Lisa suits because she will have, like, we got that acquisition of Silo AI. She literally said we're working on strategic AI, which I think is huge. But look at this 153. I'm not sure if this is a rejection, Kling Daddy, because we've had some of these bottoming tail candles before, and look where they wick into. That's right. This little area that we bounced off of here, that 152.50. So I would wait. I would say like hard selling below that 152.50, maybe with some volume, that would get a little bit dicey. And I would also say a break again below into these kind of pre-market areas of resistance just above, mostly again that 152.50, above that 152. That's where things get a little bit dicey to me personally. Right now, though, we're still holding up the top here. Bit of a bull flag pushing up here from 149.50s. I do like that look for now. So I would say AMD is one that kind of moves a little bit herky-jerky. Someone in the chat a while ago, I apologize, I forgot who it was, called it the Widowmaker. So I think the Widow, I definitely think there are some elements of that for A to the M to the D. That is for sure. So just be aware of how that one moves. But shout out to you, Kling Daddy. I think that's an interesting look. In that chip space as well, we have Intel moving a little bit here below, slightly up on the day, but pushing below that 9 EMA, with a little bit of that rhymed accidentally, with a bit of that chop and turn here, wicking twice into 2150s, bit of a quadunk. Let's see what we do here if we get down to that 2122s. I still, though, in the tech space, my biggest looks here are going to be, I want to see what CrowdStrike does. Happy I tried this short, but I probably should have waited for a little bit more confluence instead of getting involved just as that thing pushed lower. But we do have PANW reporting tonight, so I want to keep all of these names in that cybersecurity space absolutely on watch. I see you were involved in you took your Meta short. And your
I did. I flipped back
nice.
Short on Meta as it did break that $0.50, multiple lower highs, 526 to the high side and I'm out. I also got Apple dip near, I believe, 19s or something like that. Wet my beak there at 30s. Let's see if it can continue to move up a little bit here. So some lower highs on Meta and rejecting off the 10 exponential really had me interested in this trade, but I'm going to have to give it a lot of room because if I want to trade this appropriately, I'm going to have to base it off areas of support and resistance. So we'll see if we can get some downside initial push into Meta over here. I'm waiting to take some profits possibly at the whole dollar. So we'll pack our patience with this one as it does work its way through there as well. So 526, and we're going to take everything out there if it breaks the whole dollar level. So packing my patience on META. Let me just make sure that my stop is in play on this one and that it's sound so that I don't get in any trouble on Meta. So it is in play at the moment. We're just going to pack our patience. Let's see what Apple's doing over here. Okay, so we're nicely in the money here on Apple, about 20 pennies in the money. Let's see if we can work our way into the volume weighted average price. So we are up at around 50s, and this is my concern a little bit over here, is that we reject at the volume weighted average price on AAPL. Yeah, we'll wait a little bit here on Apple. Okay, so we just printed on Meta to the downside again. So now one big move to the high side, one big move to the downside over here. So Meta has decided what it wants to do. So if it wants to continue moving down, I'm looking at 524, 523.5. However, if it does break up again and takes 526.5, which is an obvious area resistance level, I'm going to get out, obviously. So de-risked over here. It's moving back up against me, but that's the whole point of de-risking in front of the $0.50, or excuse me, the whole dollar. We'll see what we can get. Okay, here it comes again to the downside. So it's breaking down again. Let's see if it's able to breach 525. So the bid is a little bit lower than 525, but the ask still defending at this point. So not really a whole lot to talk about. It's basically at the same area that it was when I got printed. So let's see if we can get anything below 90s. All right, now we're getting the 90 print. Earlier it was 95. I don't know, I think they probably want to see this. Let's see exactly what we moved down to. I like this area, obviously, at around 524 because it is the whole dollar. Sure, you're going to say, Sharif, well, 523. Well, that is the low of the day, right? I mean, maybe I can get lucky enough to get that. Maybe I can't. So that's why I'm looking at around 524 to take it in front of the whole dollar. But a 526.5 break, I'm gone. Now, as I suspected, Apple did reject off the volume-weighted average price, so although I packed my patience, maybe it wasn't the best idea. AAPL obviously weak on the day, down 0.8, so, really should be scalping the pops here rather than trying to hold for the bigger moves, at least in my estimation. There is a whole lot of resistance on Apple at around 224 and 2/3, between the $0.50 to the 2/3, as you can see there, really weren't able to break there decisively. On Apple, even though we did get into that technically 224.75. We'll see exactly what we get there, trying to bounce up again. Now, what's Meta doing? Still defending that 525 level on META. So that's telling me something a little bit over here. Even though we dipped a little bit below that 525 level, we're still finding a bid there. Now, you look at the book. And you're like, all right, is there any size moving up on the bid here that's supporting the 525 break or preventing the 525 break? Well, most of the time, 90% of the time, you're going to look and you're not going to see big size unless you're coming to that, once in a while touched level. But what ends up happening is you do get iceberg orders that come in on the fly at that level. So you've got to be aware of those and account for them when you place your stops, because they can have a way of really blowing this thing to the high side. So keeping an eye on this one as it comes right back into my area, and we're holding the 10 exponential on the 5 on the futures contract. We're working our way back into that 675 area. It's really Nvidia that's keeping this market afloat, but that's having corollary effects on things like Meta and some other names. So if we can keep moving up on these names, I'm going to have to look at a different possible trade, a range trade, rather than a breakout or breakdown trade there.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, too. I think a lot of these names are kind of coming into ranges, or they're playing off their previous ranges, right? So, and that's what inspired me to get back into this CrowdStrike. In this case, I really wanted that breakdown, and I was like, oh, we're going to get that 265 move. Like, woo. I don't know what that voice was. Got short 265 as we pushed lower. Turns out that was basically the push. But then we come up and we bounce here off 265.70s, which was that area of resistance that I was finding kind of interesting, right? So I was like, we hold this now. Now we go long. But I don't know what that voice was. So I'm going long, risking here into 265.70s. Right now, we're about 25 cents in the money. I wanted to be very, very cautious that this was not a revenge trade, because I did get burned on that first CrowdStrike trade. I took it with a little bit of size, not too much, but arguably should have probably built into it. Anyways, that's not the point. It's neither here nor there. You got to say, where's the next trade? In this case, I like that we're bouncing off the 90 EMA. And like I said, I do think there are eyes on the cybersecurity space right now. There have been eyes in the cybersecurity space since the whole CrowdStrike hullabaloo with that outage. But I don't know, again, word choices. But also, we do have Pan W tonight. So I hope for everybody here that you guys get a Pan Dub there for those Pan Dub earnings. We do currently have PANW there, Palo Alto Networks, up about 2%. Spread actually decent. You're a 30 penny spread. I like, NW gets a pushback, because I do like all this chop and turn we've had a couple times here when that 340.50s happens to be in confluence for VWAP. So that is, or with VWAP, sorry, so that's a level I have eyes on there. Looks like we are, again, trying to push higher here in CrowdStrike, but just get back to CrowdStrike to explain what my plan is here. I would like to take some profit here at 267, get out half the position. If we come back and bounce here off to 66.50s, an area we're kind of struggling to get with, and also where we had some chop and churn earlier, then I'll add to the position, but I want to make sure I get some out. I want to make sure I'm trading this appropriately, and that it is, above all, like I said, I don't want to be revenge trading, so I'm trying to be very cognizant to make sure I am not doing that. Also, Palantir, do you finally want to do something for me? Do you want to break 32s for me? Do your thing, Palantir. Do your thing, Alex Karp. If we get the 32 breakdown, I am adding to this position. I want to push this lower. Shout out to Jerry Garcia in the chat secondary. You made me howl. Appreciate that. Trying to have fun with these markets because they are so entertaining. I find them really exciting. And we're trying to bring some excitement. But if there's any stocks you're looking at that get you excited, confident too. But get into that chat. Exclamation point, join, space, $, whatever tickers your fancy. Maybe it's Amazon, maybe it's AMD, maybe it's, you want to know what Sharif's doing here in that Meta or that Apple. Maybe you're like, hey, what about that ALZN? What about all that drama? What about all these MPOC stocks? whatever it is, the M stocks, whatever they are, let us know in that chat, because this audience segment is for you guys. It is brought to you by Real Trading. Nvidia pushing higher there. We have Nvidia heading for 129.52, says Paul. You know what would be dope if Nvidia just was like, I'll head to 130. That's a great look. Higher highs, higher lows. Sorry, I've been ignoring you, Nvidia. You look beautiful today. I'm like, what am I doing over here? Spending time in CrowdStrike when Nvidia looks this good. I'm going to have to maybe reassess my life choices, because I love what Nvidia is doing. How are you doing here, Sharif?
We just took out the rest of the Meta trade as it dipped into 69, so we were able to get the fill there. We're along at 30, so good trade on Meta. But now I'm concerned about this Apple trade as it does come in to my entry again. You can see that the range here, at least locally, at least since about 22, we've been getting support at the 20 penny area. I'm long 19, so I've been hesitant to take it out. But as you can see, incrementally lower highs with that 40 penny area as the local area of resistance. It's really rejecting off the volume weighted average price. But as I looked at it a bit deeper on the 5 minute, it looks like it's flipped here from above VWAP as the area of support to below VWAP as the area of resistance. So, you know, if it flips like that, it could flip again. So I don't really want to take it out. I'm gonna give this one a little bit of room, especially since it's zigging and zagging. I mean, at the 50 penny area, we could look to take some out there, but ultimately I really want that 224.75 in and around that area to test this double top local high from around 1105. So Apple not really doing a whole lot on the day, but definitely still above my area. I'm really happy with the Meta trade as we sniffed out weakness on this, and it's continuing to head down over here. So this one we could be easily seeing 524. Meta awfully weak off that VWAP touch that it got into. As I want to say right at the start of the show, that was the best that it looked as soon as we started. Now we're about 50 minutes deep, and since that time it hasn't touched the volume weighted average price. So that's 1, 2, 3. You can call this one a candle of indecision. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 red candles with this one pending. We'll have to see if this one can hold up above that 525 area. Was at as bad as we could do on the day on META. So very much looking for more here on Meta. Now, the next one I'll be looking at, if it works its way right back up, is this pre-market high. So, this neckline break high. So we were talking about this 525.5 being a very important area. And as you can see, there was a whole lot of interactions on the day, intraday, with this 525.5 to 525.25. I would submit to you the half is a better level. Just namely because it's the $0.50, and that's where the closing prints initially were bouncing off. Sure, the wicks were getting down into a third, a quarter of a dollar, but I'm more inclined to want to use the $0.50 area. Now, it didn't give you a whole lot in the neckline breakdown, but that's fine. It doesn't mean that it wasn't valid. Now, if we get above there, I'll be looking at using it as a possible area of support, right? So we'll continue to watch this one. META, if it has anything around VWAP, which is also the closing print from Friday, 527.5. Definitely looking for a short there unless we get an aggressive move through. I'm looking obviously long at the low of the day, possibly for a scalp, but around 523-ish area. Meta is in play, it looks like, on the day over here. All right, Apple's right back near the volume weighted average price again. So decisions to be made here. We were talking about how this is an area of obvious resistance. We get another rejection off 224.40 again, and it's been coming into this area since basically I got involved, and it rejects again. So AAPL putting in higher lows ever since that dip at 1135 when we got down into 224.05, but not able to break through the volume weighted average price at 224.40, really leaving me in a state of limbo right now, not exactly sure whether to look to take this out or whether to pack my patience for and either a break above VWAP, possibly around that 40 penny level. I don't think it really behooves me to take anything out over here. I'm going to pack my patience on this one. But Tesla is in a really good look right now. And look, Nvidia is the king right now. 2.4%. It's printing at the high. 127.62, nary a red candle, no breaches of the 10 exponential on the 5, certainly not any at right now. Good look, Katina, man, shout out to you. 10:20 a.m. was basically the last time we were able to break down below the 10 exponential on the 5. Every single print closing, wick, or otherwise, has defended the 10 exponential on the 5. There's obviously a big boy buy program today on Nvidia as it continues to move up. Another high a day right there, 127.63. I mean, we charted this already from a deeper look on the half an hour. We're really only looking at $130 as the local area of resistance. Sure, there's stuff that we intersect with from the middle of July, but I'm less likely to want to put much stock into those levels as much as I am this $10 level at 130. So we're above this closing print over here from 125 and change, which was an obvious level of resistance as well, given that we rejected off that level on the 22nd and the 23rd. It was a bit of a local top, and we were actually using that 125 level previously as resistance back on the 16th. We break through that. We're well above it. It's no longer an issue right now. We're not looking at it as support because we're about $3 higher than that level, but this 130 level will be all eyes and ears. In addition to 130 being an important level, we also have more resistance at around 132-ish, and that takes us back all the way to the 12th and the 15th. We got to go back over a month the last time Nvidia was at these levels, so great look for whoever took this monster long. I want to shout out the Katina man for that trade. At Apple, right back down into my entry yet again, and this has been arranged now on Apple. There seems to be a buyer at the fifth of a dollar and a seller at the 40 penny area. Don't know why, don't really care. Going to take it if it breaks down below 224 as a short, if it breaks above 224 and a half as a long, this obvious area consolidation that we were at before the break of VWAP, I'll be looking long there.
Yeah, so, Palantir has me crying in my coffee. No, Cam, I'm joking. But it is a little bit frustrating. I basically, you have to have exit rules, right? That's one of the biggest things I've had since I've had larger positions. So I was like, you know what? I need to get this to break even. I added because we got below 32 and Palantir. I was like, dope, cool, sickness. If we make a higher low, you got to say au revoir, though, because I had a little bit of a larger position. We made a higher high. We had this violent kind of push towards 32.10s. I was like, yeah, Dara, higher high, don't like that. Got out. Then Palantir gets back to 32s. So, thanks, Palantir. All good there. No, I'm joking. We got out more or less flat there, so I'm not going to, obviously be crying over spilled shares. I want to see us retest 32. If we retest and reject, I'll get back into this short. But it's always a little bit disappointing when you have a plan. The plan kind of works against you. You have to have stop losses, but perhaps I could have been a little bit less conservative with mine on the Palantir one. That being said, that was not a Palantir 1 trade. That was like a Palantir 3 trade. Yeah, bad joke about it. But we have, I'm going to wipe my Palantirs and keep going. We have CrowdStrike here getting into that area where I'm going to have to say au revoir. Like I said, I want to see kind of what we do here, this 70s, 60s area, this 265, 70s and 60s, because that was that area that we did have a little bit of a bounce off, looking for that support resistance, flippity-floppity here. We did get it earlier, but look at also all of these top and tail candles into 265.50, or 266.50, sorry. Bit concerning, skosh concerning. I want to see what we do here. I don't want to panic, so I don't want to get out too early, Palantir, because that's not great either, right? You want to make sure you're making decisions that are appropriate, that make sense. CrowdStrike, I don't feel like this was a revenge trade, because like I said, I was very worried that it would potentially feel like one, just given how I had the L the first time I tried to take this. But you know what, we had to get out here to get into the mid-50s area. But basically, I like that we were holding 266s, worked out for a minute, then it didn't. A little bit unfortunate when you start the day with kind of two stronger trades and then, Palantir and CrowdStrike nonsense, but it's all good, baby. Where's the next trade? As Obi says, and I'm happy I got out where I did. Because look, I get out there at CrowdStrike, now we drop another 20 cents. Also, looks like a bit of a change of tides here. We've got SPY dropping, IWM dropping. This was great in trades. Sometimes the door closes, your gate closes, your trade closes, and a window opens. So maybe the window opens, or all of these sellers jumping out of the SPY here. Wow, push down here in these markets. We don't have any other Fed speakers. State Fed's Waller spoke, and apparently in those prepared comments did not say anything about the markets or about rate cuts. So interesting look there. We do have the SPY kind of, like I said, I like whole dollar level in the SPY. We're back above those now, so we could be recovering from the sell-off. We do have IWM coming into some of those levels I like in those high 213s. We have we've got EL, Estee Lauder, trying to, taking those eyelashes off here. What was that analogy? Into VWAP, bit of an interesting look. TQQ dump says Sean Then Watt. Sean Katina saying still long Nvidia. So great look here. So much to talk about in these markets. And again, make sure you vote if there's any tickers you like, ! Join, space, $, whatever tickers your fancy. Wow, kicking myself a little bit for the Palantir short, but that's what aggressive journaling's for. You take your time, you reflect, and if you want any other opportunities to reflect here, it's always great to see what the big kahunas might have done with some of those stocks that you were looking at. And also, I know I said I like Zim as a short, but Zim, if you want a range, I'll zip into Zim. I do like these lower highs, lower lows. Like I said, I think I would really be trying to push in hard with size. Don't like how I worded that, at 2320s. If we get that move down, that would be where I'd be loading up for those trades. Push it to the downside. A lot of stuff moving down here. I'm going to have to reassess some of my plans as Palantir. As this market pushes lower. Where's the next trade? And unfortunately for me, not in Palantir. How are you doing?
All right, we're long Nvidia for the 10 exponential dip. We forerun it a little bit over here as that was at the 10 exponential moving average was at 75s. I front ran it by getting in at the whole dollar, so we'll see if this one can bounce up. It's obviously the strongest name on the day, but we had a gnarly flush there midday on the future. Unsure what that was about. I looked at my blotter and there was really nothing to justify this move, so packing my patience here. Obviously a bigger move down right now as we break through the 20 exponential on the 5 right now on the future, and you're getting a lot of weakness on these names. So we're gonna have to see if Nvidia participates in that. Right now, about 5 pennies out of the money on this name. We're gonna give this one to about 75 pennies there. Very upset with this trade that I had on Meta because this was a multiple dollar winner that we took out far too early. So a little bit disappointed on this one as Nvidia does come down here and we do get knocked out of this one. So about a 25 penny loser super quick there as the future's aggressively dropping on this. I don't have no idea why it's dropping, but the volume weighted average price is very close to that 600 point level. So I'm going to try Nvidia again over here. What just happened? How come it's not showing it on my blotter? Okay, so we're long Nvidia. I'm sorry, it doesn't show on my blotter. We're long at 74s. The break of 60. We're going to give this one a little bit of room over here. Here it comes right into 85. So we'll take some profit out there. Good move up. Let's see if we can get some more at the whole dollar as it works its way up. So a good defend of the 10 exponential on the 5, but by no means out of the water. They're trying to scalp this one and trying to make some money back off that 25 penny loser. Let's see if we can get up a little bit here. Good 10 exponential hold, but you're not really seeing a bounce up in the future, right? You're sure you're defending that quarter of a point area 19,625, but you're not back at 19,650 or anywhere in and around there. So about 20 pennies in the money, 25 pennies in the money. All right, 30 pennies in the money here. Let's see if we can move up a little bit more on Nvidia, knowing full well that the whole dollar could absolutely act as an area of resistance, and we'll take it out there. And if it breaks up above 127, gonna get back right in here for a possible move up again on NVDA. A little zig, a little zag on this name. So I don't want to be too quick to want to get back in above 127, just only knowing that it could spike there and then push me back down again. I don't mind being second or third to the party or whatever number I'm going to be, as long as I can get the right trade. Hammer candle right now forming on Nvidia as it bounces off the 10 exponential on the 5. This is kind of what you want to see if you're looking long here. So let's see how this candle closes. Got 3 minutes still before it closes. There it goes up into the 10 penny area again. So lots of strength in this name. Good look here. Took it out way too early. Here comes that move into the quarter of a dollar again on Nvidia, up 2% right now. Nice hold at the 10 exponential Adair.
Yeah, I want to show you up for that because shout out to Sheree for that Nvidia long. I actually was funny. I was Nvidia short, exact same price there, 126, 74s. Managed it appropriately. I think we got out at the same time too. I got out for a loss there, 127s. But I want to shout out your trade there. And it's interesting, too, we had the same kind of thesis. You were looking for that hold there of the 90 EMA, and I was kind of watching as we broke below the 90 EMA because we also had that chop and turn there. Alas, it didn't work out. Happy I tried it, though, and I think the biggest thing is if you have confidence, if you have levels that make sense, if you have stop losses, then it makes... You got to try the trade because it really could have gone there either way. So I want to shout out. This one I think is so great is you could have different approaches to the market. Sometimes they're both going to work out. Sometimes neither of them are going to work out. And I do want to shout out, though, your awesome trade there. An N to the V, to the D, to the A. Tesla was watching there for potential 220 rejection. We were below 220. Now we came back, reclaimed 220 pretty decently here. I haven't been watching the book on Tesla long enough today for me to feel comfortable trading this. But yeah, Palantir coming back. Honestly, of the names I'm looking at, Palantir for me is the Palan clearest in terms of a trade I would be taking. And it would be if we come back to 32s and reject. Obviously, a little bit sad. I vaguely paper-handed this trade. I say vaguely because I didn't want to get out as we had higher highs, but all good there. But you know what also is all good? Neil's lesson of the day. Always. He'll be over there, guys. Check it out.
Yes, sir. Lesson of the day, as always, brought to you right around lunchtime so we can chew in. And for anyone that was just watching that move to the downside, there was a bit of a, there was a geopolitical headline, something about Israel calling up some reservists. Looks like that was timed perfectly with when the Qs just made that little bit of a dip. I think the last time we saw a headline like this midday, there was a little bit of a dip and then a kind of a bounce. So that's what you might be seeing. But we talk about patience a lot in trading. And there was a question this morning, and I don't remember exactly what it was, or maybe it was a comment. It's like, oh, sometimes you can be too patient. So I want to outline just a certain situation where looking for something very specific, wait for something very specific. And a lot of times if you trade off of key price levels or looking for, well, this is the breakout level that I want, this is the area or the reason that I'm even trading this stock, then you want it to trade off of that idea. So Tesla in here, I don't think it was necessarily rocket science to come up with what might have been a key level here on Tesla. I think we can all see on Friday, it had this big wick top into 220 bucks. I mean, you zoom out your chart, there's your $220 level. So immediately, I know that this is an area we want to trade off of. The Friday low or the Friday afternoon low set up at 214, but unless you were in that right at 9:30, right in here, looking for that dip buy, it wasn't there for you. So a lot of times, if you miss a breakout trade or a breakout fails, you can adjust your plan if it's going to go trend into the upside. And initially, that's where my mind was at with Tesla. Like, take the 220 break, either it continues and flies, or if it loses 220, start going into the dip buy on trend or into VWAP. But the first thing that happened was like, oh crap, I just got out. It didn't get to VWAP, which is what I was interested in. Bounces off 219, like, okay, we missed our entry because it didn't get down there. And then it's making fresh highs. So at that point, I'm kind of caught in between. Usually, an hour into the session, if a stock starts stepping up like this, I want to play a trend line. I want to play a dip into VWAP or something along those lines. And I didn't have any of that going. So I said, okay, I just got to wait for it to retest the $220 level. If that's where we liked it for a break, if that's where a key level is, then it's worth taking shots off of that price because it seems like it should be an important one. It's not guaranteed that it was going to be important, but it was showing us some signs of strength off of the 220 level. So I have to sit it out. And again, I know I want Tesla long in this situation. In a general sense, I like above 220, but it's not setting up my normal pattern that I would love to see happen on a trend trade, which is, hey, dip back into VWAP. That's the go-to. That's the bread and butter, all of that good stuff. So you work off the key price level essentially until it doesn't want to go anymore. And it was about this point, like the third time, or technically the fourth time that I had it long, where you're just making too much of a downward trend. And if you look at, it's not really a huge downtrend, but again, off those highs, you put in a couple of lower highs, and then this wick happens, and I see that weakness. Okay, now I have to be able to adjust and wait for VWAP. So I'm going to trade the key price level until it shows me it's a little too weak, and then you wait for the next level. Now, it doesn't matter, like, it happens to bounce off VWAP. It happens to bounce off 219. But the reason for this trade is because that's our plan of action. I'm trading it off the 220 level, or I'm trading a trend back in off VWAP. It's that simple. If those trades don't set up, then I might not get into Tesla, but it does, so we get our longs there, we wait for it to come into VWAP, and then you're off to the races. Maybe we get another shot at VWAP, I don't know. But the places I'm gonna want to trade it, 219, 220. It looks like it's trying to make another higher low. If it does that, then we're absolutely fine with it. Another one that I want to get over to, because if you're going to trade if you're going to trade for a reason, again, I only have like certain levels that you're working off of, and you want to be patient until they set up. And then if they're not valid, you want to get away from them. So you would have heard me say, well, we said this last week, 21 on Intel, as long as it fails that level, then we like shorts on that. We like shorts on Intel. Key, failing that level. So I'm shorting it only if it's underneath 21. And when it's breaking out over, I ain't touching it with a 10-foot pole to try to short it. So required some patience here. Why? You can want the stock to be a short all you want, but it's making higher lows. It broke 20, higher low, higher low. It wasn't until it got back underneath VWAP, we short it to the low. It retests VWAP underneath 21, puts in a higher low at that point, and then a tight stop out. Now, clearly, if you use that same level for a reversal, boom, would have worked for you. But this was the name that I was looking for short. At the moment that it was holding the lower high, the markets were making fresh highs and trending higher. So this is a case of patience and wait for only the price and the setup the way you're looking for it. That way, when it breaks out against you, I don't have any reason to be fighting this just because I want it to be a short. It's just clearly not one at those levels, and I can get away from it relatively easier. Last one, before we send you guys right back, is sometimes you have to adjust your plan of action. So with the case of Fubo, the initial plan was pretty simple. Hey, look at this resistance here in the mid-160s. Let's go dip into prior resistance for a squeeze play higher. Never happens. Absolutely no shot at a dip buy. It just essentially consolidates higher and then breaks out the top. However, if the general plan of action is, I like trend up on squeeze name, I want to buy back into prior resistance, well, the pre-market resistance is the only resistance out there. So when these trades are done, the breakout trades through 185 through $2, the only thing left is to observe, pull back into resistance, and it holds. Now, I don't even take it the first time, so I got to slap the fail on myself for this because I trailed out and then didn't do the dip into prior pre-market highs. It holds, goes right up to 205. It does it a second time. Well, just take it. So it dips a second time into the same level, and it's right back into those twos. Now, the key is not every trade or every stock that you trade is going to be about, I'm just only going to trade these at the same prices over and over and over again. However, if your reason for getting in is tied to those key prices, then when it gets there, you want to wait and take the trade at that price level. In this particular case, like if you're long Fubo at other prices, like 95s and 98s, that's fine. It gets back to 2 and it works for you, but it's showing you that previous break at $185, you want the longs between 85 and 90. Just get yourself a better price by being patient, and doubly so when you know exactly the levels that you're working off of. When you do all that work overnight or in the morning to come up with where you like the stock and what price levels you want to trade around, it behooves you to show a little bit of patience to wait for those trades to set up at those particular prices. There's all kinds of strategies out there. Maybe you can go off moving averages or trend trades, but if you're trading off key support and resistance, oftentimes patience, patience, patience. Trade at the price you want, get the trades you want, and then wait for the next opportunity. That's your lesson of the day.
Very much, Neil. Informative, eloquent, and awesome as always. Neil Roberts will be dropping hotlines every day that he's around at around noontime. So if you're like that kind of Neilage, as we call it around here, you will join us at around that time. Otherwise, you're going to miss it out. So it's up to you. So I'm in Nvidia and I'm in Apple right now. Nvidia was able to wet my beak on some profits as we zigged and zagged. I'm still holding here on the 10 exponential on the 5. I'm looking at my side chart because that's where I have my 10 exponential on the 5. But it's having all sorts of trouble at 197. Hence why I de-risked on the pop into 10s. I'm concerned about this one. Apple, I'm doing a lot better on. This one we got through basically the defend of 224, the reclaim of 224. It's up almost at the $0.25. I'll be looking to see if this one can move back into the volume weighted average price at around 40s. That's where it's had resistance on prior occasions. So looking here for Apple and Nvidia to pop up. The future did drop, as Neil mentioned, on the start of his lesson of the day as a result of some geopolitical stuff that we can never get on the other side of. So we'll keep watching for that. But it looks like the market did pop up a bit after that week, geopolitical news dropped us below the 19.625. We're right back into that half-point area, 50-point area, excuse me, on the NQ September contract. Nvidia is having all sorts of trouble with 127 here, but I'm going to pack my patience only because it really hasn't given way to the 10 exponential on the 5. I want to base my stops on sound areas of support and resistance rather than where I'd like it to bounce off. That doesn't seem to work out all that much. You can tell there's a seller here on 3 as we hold up at that level. Iceberg, obviously, because it's not warranted there on the book. So keeping my eye out for Nvidia. I've already got my stop in place. I've got my beak wetters in place, but I'm packing my patience here to see what we get on this day. Nvidia is the strongest name, but it's by no means, you know, or it's not even the strongest name anymore. I stand corrected. Tesla is up higher than Nvidia now, 2.13% for Tesla, 1.93 for Nvidia. So a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Still not giving way at the 10 exponential. Packing my patience. What are you looking at, Adair?
Yeah, I want to echo what you said in NVIDIA because I tried the NVIDIA short earlier. I was looking at NVIDIA again as a short here, but that 127 has been really, you know, we talked about when Obi was here as a guest a while ago, saying there's certain levels that there's magnetism. NVIDIA, that 127 for sure. I would not be getting back into a short here. I also like well, I used the 9 EMA, but pretty similar level. That 126.75s. If we can get below that, that's where I want to get involved. Because look, we tried to like blow, and NVIDIA's like, oh, wait, no, I still want to go higher. I still want to be like, you know, buddies with Sharif here to the upside. So NVIDIA, I'm going to be watching out here for, because I definitely want to echo what you have to say here about that support. I apologize because I'm not in any trades right now. I don't have a super clear read on anything. There's nothing I love here. Very happy I didn't like revenge hop into that Palantir short the second we got into 32s, because Palantir, honestly, way stronger now than any time I was in that short. Obviously, a little bit upset that I got out flat when this thing dropped. I would have been like 30 pennies in the money. That's not the point, though. The point is, didn't work out. I need to assess how my risk could have been better, how I could have been organizing my stops better, my beak, or my, not, I didn't wet my beak, my entries better. That's the whole point of learning. That being said, now that we're above the 9 EMA with a nice pop to the upside, with the futures not really kind of echoing or mirroring that pop, I would love to see us bounce here at 32.05s. If we do that, I'd actually be interested in entering a long here because that would be, to me, a bit of a change in the tides. But also, we did get a super chat there from Big Kyle Burdett during the lesson. Kyle Burdett, future short, area ES, it holds as resistance. First trade of the week. Hope everyone has a great week. We hope you have a great week. Big Kyle Burdett. Making some big trades. Speaking of the SPY, I actually have one level in the SPY. I know I've said lately, and I think this has been helpful, I will only take SPY trades if one of two parameters hit. A, if it is a whole other level breakout or breakdown. B, if there's a level I've been watching obsessively on the book that I think is holding up. We almost had one of those book trades here. That 556.40s has been wild for me. I've been watching it in the book. We whiffle, we waffle, we woof. Yeah, I don't know what sounds I'm making, but I do know how I feel when I see that 556.40. And it is very, very tempted to get involved. However, I'm not getting involved until I have a better sense of direction here. Now it looks like we're bouncing. Look at that support we had here earlier in the chart as well. So for me, it's always great when the levels that you're seeing on the book are supportive of what you're seeing on the chart. Nvidia still trying to push higher here. Great look. Tesla, 221, definitely doing something for it. I'm still actually looking at CrowdStrike here, though. I don't want to get into a third. You know, I already had two strikes here. Two CrowdStrikes here. Unfortunately, to make a pun about my bad trades, but you know, you got to laugh at yourself, Sharif. What are you doing here? CrowdStrike, and to be clear, I'm really happy because where I got out of that long because the timing on that was kind of serendipitous. That being said, look at how we're rejecting this 265s. I had a dip buy in here, or not a dip, I guess a dip sell. Rip sell set in here, and I canceled it because I was liking what AMD was doing as we got into that level that I'm obsessed with in AMD. I mentioned this earlier, 550, 150, 250. I'm going to be keeping an eye on both AMD and CrowdStrike as they come into levels. I like CrowdStrike as a 265 rejection. AMD, honestly, I will take this either direction depending on what it does here at 150, 250. I am not picky. I just know I love this flippity floppity at this on this chart. I'm actually probably tempted, that being said, to go short. How is the big boy NVDA? See some profit takers being
Yes, I just got out of that. I got in, wet my beak on some profits, got out, got in again as it broke through 127.10, got out again at 127.20. Thank you, Katina, man. I told you guys that both of you guys have a certain way of trading where you keep a stock on the rope and you don't let it off, and both of you guys do that, and I've been trying to do that a little bit more. So keeping an eye on that, looking for Nvidia to pop up a little bit more over here. Good 127 defend, multiple bottoming tails through 127, but for the most part here, you can see that there is a buyer a little bit below 127, so not a bad look. Apple, sorry about the wicks, but we took a really good trade here on Apple. We took this one 224.04, and we were able to get out at 224.22. So keeping an eye on, actually higher. I'm not even sure because it's distorted at the moment over here, but it's right back into the volume weighted average price again here, as you can see on Apple. VWAP has been an interesting level of resistance on it, or initially support. It whiffled and waffled from 1120 to 1135, using VWAP as an area support level, and then started using it as a resistance level from the downside. As you can see here, multiple topping tail candles all coming into VWAP, all of which rejected. Now, though, we have kind of worked our way into VWAP in a different way. We're not really topping tail like these candles. All three candles here were kind of wicks into an area resistance level, all of which rejected. But here we go again. Now we're kind of incrementally getting back into there, not on a wick basis though. So more, it feels like steady. Still lower highs on the day for AAPL, with this 224.75 being the local area high over here, the double top that we put 11.05, and both these guys over here at 224 and 2/3 now rejecting at the 40 penny level. So if this is to be the top here on Apple, it's another lower high. So that should inform some of your trading there. Keeping an eye on that one. AMZN and some of these other names obviously recovering from the midday drop that we got there as a result of the geopolitical news. I saw you guys wondering what it was in the chat. I personally didn't see it myself, but Neil said that there was stuff out of the Middle East. So that's typically not good. And it's not usually good for oil, which is funny though, because oil's down 2.25% and is continuing to tank. So here's the CL. This is the continuous contract, but I think we're on the October contract now, possibly here for CL. Here is the light Swede crude on the NYMX, and we'll go to the futures and the August. We'll go to the continuous contract over here. As you can see, breaking down aggressively. So I'm unsure exactly what's going on with oil here, but typically it moves in the opposite direction when we do get these geopolitical events. 75, 73 HOD that we put in essentially at the top of the, that was the IB high essentially. And now we're at 73.81 as the low, breaking through that $74 area. So oil, at least momentarily, down 2% and change. But the equities are on the way up, or at least it feels that. Now, we've got the indexes as follows. The Russell outperforming on the day, up 0.54, followed by the Dow and the ES, which are exactly the same at 0.4. And then the NASDAQ is the laggard on the day, up 0.27, essentially up about a quarter point or so. So we'll keep tabs, obviously, on this 19,675 level, which, number one, is our local area of resistance. We're really not able to break through it on a week basis. But when you look back at the early morning trading, or last night, I should say, because this is around 11:30 p.m. Eastern time, 10:30 Central, we had all sorts of interactions yesterday in early trading at 19,675. And we're getting that top area rejection currently. So there is a support here, or not support. There is an area resistance level from previous trading right at this level over here. So it's not something that is novel on, at least on the day. So 19,675 or around that area seem to be an area resistance. We talked about Apple having all sorts of trouble at VWAP. It's continuing to maintain that stance, not really breaking through it, but good 5 green candles right now on the 5-minute chart on AAPL. You're seeing like the likes of Microsoft as well, curling back into the volume weighted average price. It's awfully flat on the day, only down 0.11. The VWAP on Microsoft is at 418.20. So it really hasn't, been working its way into VWAP and rejecting, but the pops near VWAP have all been a bit of a sell. So we'll keep tabs on Softy here as it, essentially flat on the day. You're seeing the likes of Amazon and Meta also catch a bit of a bid, but both are still below the volume weighted average price, and both are still negative on the day, with Meta a bit worse right now, 1/3% down, while Softy is essentially flat, Adara. I'm going to send it to you for a sec while I set up for the lesson.
Yeah, so are you saying you like Microsoft?
I do. I don't mind it.
No, I heard, I've never thought of that pun before, and I was like, ah. But also having me like, in a different way is CrowdStrike. I don't know if I like CrowdStrike right now. And I have to say I'm a little bit in a position where I'm conflicted. I am in CrowdStrike. I put this in the chat as well when I realized it didn't show up in the business board. I am short CrowdStrike, $264.99. I think actually the exact same price I had in the short earlier. Now, why am I sitting here a little whiffled and a little waffled? Also, I want to clarify, this is a small position I've had in CrowdStrike all day. So not a ton here on the line. But basically, the reason I wanted to get back in, even though I already said there's already 2 CrowdStrikes against me in this one, 3 strikes and you're out. I liked this because we were back at the 265. The book was, at the time, doing stuff I liked. The reason I'm a little bit more hesitant, though, is because I was, for whatever reason, I was looking at this in the 10-minute. The 10-minute, to me, looks way more bearish here on CrowdStrike, that we have these kind of lower highs with that 265, but we're kind of pushing above it on the 5-minute. I still like the fact that we're kind of rejecting here, that I still like the 265.50 area as an area of rejection. I'm okay with risking 50 pennies on something like CrowdStrike. I'm just honestly, like, next time you see me, I might have panic sold out of this. I'm trying not to. I'm trying to stick to my plan. It's really easy to get a little bit, though, shaken up and taken away from your plan when you've already been burned in a stock before. So I want to be very cautious. I'm just trying to be really honest about my approach to this CrowdStrike trade. I'll keep you guys apprised in the chat because it looks like it's not in the position board. I will let you guys know what I do here. But I think this might actually just be, if I don't feel confident in it, what am I doing here? So if there's any charts that you guys like or that you're feeling conflicted about like myself, get in that chat, exclamation point, join, space, $, whatever ticker you like, let us know so that we can have Sharif gesticulate wildly at the green screen. We can have Sean and Neil tell you what they think about those stocks. Let's go. But also, we love learning and we love sponsors.
Absolutely, Adara. Are you looking to maximize your idle cash? Earn 8.1%. Wow. On idle funds for up to 3 months. Plus, U.S. users can take advantage of up to 15 free stocks and $300 in cash awards. Hey, Canada, you're not left out. Nice. Enjoy 6% on cash balances along with up to $2,000 commission rebate. Sign up with Moomoo to trade on extended trading hours. Trade 4 a.m. to 8 p.m. well beyond regular market hours. Whether you want to react to pre-market news, catch after-hours earnings, or simply manage your portfolio with more flexibility, Moomoo has you covered. Maximize your trading potential and stay ahead of the curve with the extended hours today. For more details and full terms and conditions, scan the QR code or click the link in the description of the video. Thanks to Moomoo for sponsoring this portion of the show. Absolutely. Shout out to them. And I have a hat from them. And I got to tell you, the old man loves the hat. Yeah, well, I don't wear the hat all that much, but I did donate it to the old man, and he seems to like it. So we'll go with that. All right, Adara, we're talking about moving averages all week long. We'll be spending 2 weeks on this subject, and we'll get really nuanced with it. We'll talk about, as the lesson today, just simple moving averages and exponential moving averages and how to use them very, very, basically. And then we'll get more nuance. We'll talk about some of the derivative indicators that are based off moving averages. First one that comes to mind, moving average convergence divergence, one of the favorites there in the chat. We will certainly be covering that under the moving average umbrella. So stick with us this week and next. We'll cover you guys we'll give you guys, I should say, a full TA lesson on moving averages. So let's get right to it. What is a moving average? I mean, it behooves us to start with something that simple. So a moving average, I should say, is a technical analysis tool. It is used to smooth out price data over a specified period. So we have multiple different types of moving average. You can use the 9, like Adara uses, the 10, like myself. I don't know someone I remember in the past used the 8. Right? Then there is a 20, the 50, the 100, the 200, many different standardized lengths, okay? There's no there's no one size fits all for these moving averages. It's really based on what you want it to be and how it works with your trading style. So essentially it smooths out the price over a specified period of time. The specified period of time is the moving average that you choose, the length. So it helps identify trends, right? So whether things are moving up, moving down, or consolidative, as well as IDing key areas of both support and resistance. So not just trend following, but to ID areas for entry and exit as well. And by averaging past prices, moving averages can help filter out those shorter term noises or the distortions that happen intraday and reveal underlying trends. So let's start with the simplest of the moving average, and that is, aptly named, the simple moving average. So the simple moving average, SMA for short, is the most basic type of moving average. It's calculated very simply here by adding up the closing prices, again, underline, closing prices of a security over a specified period and then dividing by that period. What do I mean by that? So it's super simple. So we just talked about having different durations. So if you're using the 10 moving average like I do, my shortest moving average is the 10. So I'd add price 1 for day 1, plus price 2 for day 2, etc., all the way until 10, and then I divide by 10, and that would be where I plot it on the chart, okay? So one plot on the chart is your moving average for that day, and then you connect it to the following day. Obviously, you don't do it, the computer does it, but just so you understand how it works. So a 10-day SMA would add, as I mentioned, the closing prices of the last 10 days, and then divide by that 10. The key points or the key things to keep in mind about the simple moving average is it gives equal weight to all its data point. It neither heavily weights nor lightly weights the more recent or the more distant prices as the exponential does, and we'll talk about that in a second. Each day is given equal weight. But the issue with it, though, is it lags behind price changes due to its calculation method. The fact that it doesn't more heavily weight the the most recent, I should say, closing prices gives it a bit more of an equal weight bias as opposed to a more recent bias. So keep that in mind. And it is often used to identify long-term trends. I know the big kahunas, they prefer the simple moving average, and it works great for them. The exponential moving average, though, this one being touted by intraday traders or shorter term traders as it more heavily weights the local, or the recent, I should say, price action. So the exponential moving average, EMA for short, places more weight on recent prices than it does on the older ones. This makes it more responsive to price changes as compared to the simple moving average. A calculation is beyond the scope of this lesson, but it behooves you to understand that it uses a smoothing factor. The formula is more complex, as mentioned, than the SMA, but it involves assigning higher weights to the recent pricing or to the recent closing prints. And some of the key points to know about the exponential moving averages, as we mentioned multiple times, gives more weight to recent prices, but it also reacts faster to price changes than does the SMA. Reason being, again, more heavily weights the more recent price action. And it is often used for short-term trading and identifying quicker trend change. So behooves you to figure out which moving average best suits your trading style, but those are some key differences to kind of try to fit you in a side or whatever. All right, so comparing some of the SMAs to the EMA, let's compare the, let's start with the SMA. The SMA is better suited, or so the textbooks say, for the longer term trends due to its smoothing effect. However, the EMA is more responsive, as we've mentioned, to price changes and is preferred by many traders for shorter term analysis. That it's not a hard and fast rule. As we mentioned, the big kahunas all about that SMA life. So that's basically, as nuanced as we're going to get with it today. We really wanted to have an introduction so that everything we base off of this is sound and understood by you guys. Super simple to use. And I just, probably a good idea if I show you how to use it on my platform over here. So, obviously your platform is going to be a little bit different, but I have any number of days that I can choose for my moving average. So let's just start with EMA. So I'm going to go ahead and add an exponential moving average. And you'll see it'll choose 9 as the default. But if I want to choose 151, I'm so inclined. I can do that if I want. If I want to choose 173.5, I don't know if it'll let me do decimals, but I can choose that if I want.
Days. I like
half days. So choose whatever makes sense for you. But, my suggestion would be make sure that it's fitting in your trading style. And if that means you trade in a sim to make sure that it works with the methodology, so be it, as long as you have a sound idea of exactly what you want to do and how things work out. Obviously, we're cheering for everybody. We hope everybody prints up a store.
Yeah, we do. And I think one thing, too, that's important. I remember one thing that Sean said to me when I first started is the only thing you need in your chart is going to be VWAP. And VWAP is also, it's an average, which I think is huge. I also, I'm shout out to Ponzi Fonzie saying 9 EMA fan. I'm also a 9 EMA fan, so I relate to that. You really have to kind of try and experiment and figure out what works. They're not always going to come into levels of interest every single day. And I want to shout out Sheree for mentioning that one day where you were like, I wasn't able to trade off of any of the EMAs that day because none of them came into play. And sometimes that will happen. You just have to be aware of that. So I do want to really shout that out there for sure. Also, there was something I was going to say here, and I don't. Oh, yeah. Blind Leader saying, can you guys do a lesson on how to use anchored VWAP sometime? That'd be interesting. Notice something I want to learn more about as well. But if you also want to learn more about anchored VWAP from the anchored VWAP man himself, or as Darwin calls him in the chat, Mr. Bespoke VWAP, we do have Brian Shannon there, a.k.a. Mr. Bespoke VWAP, on the Market Recap Show with Sean and I every Tuesday evening. We have a great time there. You can also check out with Michael Noss tonight. Always a good roster of guests there. So today, Michael Noss he's on the roster, but terrible pun. But check that out. Happy though that I have a trade that is working, and that is AMD. And to be clear, I'm not like too down in the dumps. Okay, I had 2 trades that worked out earlier today. I had the Meta and the Amazon. Then I don't know why I got so anchored. Speaking of anchored, VWAP to CrowdStrike. I was like, CrowdStrike, like magic. No, nah. To be clear, I actually would not have been stopped out of the CrowdStrike short had I still been in it. It would have started working now, but I had to get out because I was not comfortable in it. Like I said, I was like, I don't like this. I was feeling really like rough about my life. I'm exaggerating. It wasn't that bad. I was just like, you don't feel confident in trade. Why are you waffling in it? Right? So that's why I left CrowdStrike. I was risking in the 50s, so I would have been fine. I could have stayed in the trade, but I was like, especially with it being spready, I just didn't have the vibe I liked. AMD though, hello. So I was piecing into this as we got lower. I mentioned this as well. I loved that 150-250 rejection. I was obsessed with it. I was really, really into that rejection. So I like that look here. We started to piece into it the lower we got. So started getting involved like 30, I think 39s, 35s, 30s. Then we had that drop here. I was trying to add it 21s for reasons you might be able to guess based on certain rappers I reference semi-frequently. But also 21s were a good level. When we broke below 20s, we kind of couldn't come back. I still want to add here, if we keep pushing lower here, I'll get involved like 152s. And I'm just going to be basically trying to get out here more or less, break even. I honestly, though, like whatever my average is now, if I get that 152 ads, I still want to see us stay below that 152.30s. To me, that's now the breaking point. But yeah, like I said, I love that 152.50 resistance support flip. And I said, I don't think AMD is AM done until it breaks below that level. Once it did, I was like, hi, AMD. Good to see you. Good to meet you. So we'll see how this trade goes. The point I'm trying to make is things can go against you, things can go badly. But as as Obi says, as we all kind of say here, where's the next trade? You cannot be too upset. Go ahead, switch the style up. If they hate, let them hate, and try to attempt to make the money pile up that you lost in CrowdStrike. This is clearly, I'm catering this phrase to myself. But let's see how this goes here. Did add there. Like I said, I'm going to risk this into 152.30s now. I'm not going to do break even because 152.30s to me is the more interesting level. In terms of where I'll take profit next, this could be a skosh ambitious, but I kind of want one. I want 150. I have conviction. I want 150, not just because it's below VWAP, but also look at that little area we had here earlier. We had a little bit of a baby pop. If we get below there, I would love to see how that goes. If we continue to reject at 152.15s, I might add here, but I don't want to be too heavy in this. Decent size in AMD, but happy I just had the conviction, the confidence to get back in, because if you don't have conviction, you should not be delivering a verdict on that trade. Which is, again, why I got a CrowdStrike. I was just like, and again, that short would have worked out, but it's like, if you don't love the trade, who are you taking it for? No one's going to believe in you if you don't believe in yourself. You have to believe in yourself. I've also shouted out this line before as well, for whatever reason, from perks being with Wallflower. We accept the love we think we deserve. We accept the trades we think we deserve. I didn't feel good about CrowdStrike, so I left. And I think, as weird as that analogy is, sometimes whatever works for you, however you view the market in a way that makes sense to you, I think is huge, especially as someone who didn't come from a market background. I try to use my analogies to make it make sense to me. Wow, AM'd. Trying to be like, oh, Adara, you dissed me. You said I was AM done. I am not. Pushing back up here. Not going to start until we get to 152.30s, at which point I'll get out risking 15 pennies because I really want at least like 65 here. How are you doing?
Sounds good. I was in AMD, Nvidia, excuse me. It did dip into the $0.50 level. I added twice onto this one, wet my beak, added again, took it out again. This is a tougher name to trade. Let's be honest about it. I mean, for me anyway, because it whiffled and waffled at the 10 exponential, which is why we were getting in here thinking about the move back up. It broke down below the 10 exponential and I got it off the 20. And it's doing the same thing now that it did at the 10. It's doing it at the 20, holding the 20 essentially, but putting in lower highs. So you're like, all right, you know, it's holding up at a level that I anticipated it would hold up at least, you know, momentarily, locally, but those newer highs are elusive. So the newer highs here for me anyway come vis-a-vis a 127.25 break. We're whiffling, we're waffling, we're trying to work our way back into 127.25, but at least when viewed on a lower time frame over here, it looks as certainly that there is a seller at the fifth of a dollar, 127.70, hence why I said the $0.25 to give myself that room so that I don't have to get in on a trade that is just a wick and then have it pull back against me. So there's definitely a whole bunch of selling, and it takes us all the way back into before 12 o'clock that we were using this 127.20 as a level of resistance after obviously being higher than it at 127 and almost 2/3 there. But we're working our way back nicely here into 127. Let's see if we can continue to move up. I'm all eyes and ears at that fifth of a dollar. 127.20 is going to be where I'm looking certainly about that. Now, I want to mention that Microsoft is making, I don't want to call it a big move or anything here. It's absolutely flat on the day, but incrementally higher lows. So if you're looking for, you know, not maybe as volatile of a trade, it looks like Softy, maybe that candidate, 416, essentially half, 46 technically, the low of the day. Then we bottom out this time at 417 and change, and we haven't looked back since. Now, we have a level here, 418.5. That's important. Why? Because that is the closing print from Friday. We've also rejected. We did a bit of a double top there at 1050 and 1055, couldn't clear it, despite the fact that the IB high is well above that 418.5 level. Now we're right back into 418.5. And how high was this candle over here? So this candle took us into 418.70. This candle over here, 418.68. Technically, yeah, by 2 pennies, a lower high. But what I do like about this one is the higher lows with that flat top generally around the 418, 419 area, looking for a possible flat top break, ascending wedge on MSFT. You know, it doesn't have to manifest, especially because it's so flat on the day. You may get essentially, you know, you don't have that parabolic nature to the move up, but we'll keep tabs on MSFT. Apple has been absolutely dead, living up to its name today as the dead one. You know, a little bit above VWAP, Adara, a little bit below.
No, I was just looking at how dead it was. Right, that's all.
Yeah.
I was just gasping at the death.
No, you're bang on. I mean, it's not hasn't done all that much today. It was a bit of a hockey stick shape, but you know we'll keep tabs on that. Not inclined to want to trade Apple again. There was obviously a trade to be had with that VWAP area. We'll see if that trade comes back in again. All right, the future moving up nicely here as Nvidia back above 127. Still though, I'm all eyes and ears at that 127.5, 127.25. We've been holding below that level on Nvidia for the better part of almost an hour now. We'll see if we're able to break above that level. A great though hold here at the 20 exponential on the 5, and that was the first time on the day we even touched the 20 exponential essentially since after 1020 or so. Once we really got directional there with Nvidia, it didn't even touch the 20 exponential. This double bottom over here at 1230 and 1235 the first time on the day. All right, it probably behooves us to look at some of these small cap gappers because there's just so many and we haven't talked about them. All right. Let's start with Upstart. Even though this is obviously not a small cap gapper, it is one that moves sometimes like a small cap gapper. Good move up today. $40, obvious area of resistance. We're down in and around 39. Last time I looked on UPST, there was no headline. Let me look again. And yes, there is still no headline on this. So we're going to have to trust the price action here because you're not going to get a catalyst, at least not for me and not right now. 39.25, obvious area of resistance right now. That takes us back essentially to 11:50 a.m., so the better part of almost an hour now with 39.25 as a resistance. We actually held up there with a double top. In fact, at 10:50 and 10:55 before the aggressive volume came at 11, and we were able to break that level, getting up into 40. But I would submit to you that 39.25, a very interesting level off which to base a trade, whether short or long. I'm not inclined to want to take Upstart short anything above VWAP. That's just the way I trade. It's going to have to break below 38 2/3, which is where VWAP is hanging out right now. But I'm going to be looking for dip buys off VWAP, just like this one over here that printed right at 12 o'clock. If you had a resting order anywhere around there, you did quite well, and you were about almost 75 pennies in the money at the highs, as it didn't spend any time at 75, but was able to get back into 39.25 quick as you like. So keep an eye on that one. LPSN, much cheaper name for those who don't want to, ante up for the more expensive names. Trading at $1.66, the high of the day, $1.74. Definitely some resistance at that $0.75 area, but a healthy respect for the volume weighted average price. You saw that respect early, and you saw it often. You got that 10 a.m. touch, 10:05 touch, 10:10 touch, all of which bounced off VWAP. Then you did it again at 12:15, 12:20, and almost here at 12:25, all bouncing off that volume weighted average price. We haven't been below it, even though it's only up 20% on the day. Keep your eye on LPSN. I gave you guys all the deets on these ones earlier. You've got the likes of APDN, above $2, but well off the highs at 285. It's up 180%. Very strong name, but has done almost nothing for the past hour and 20 minutes. So be careful with this one. Trade it as a range until it proves to you otherwise, if you want to trade it. Some of the key levels we talked about with this one was, do you have anything to say?
I was looking at the range.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I just thought there was a headline or something. At that $2.33, $2.40 area was the pre-market high. We got aggressively above that. Look at that, 285. But funny enough, now we're using that $2.40 area as a level of resistance. So that pre-market high behooves us to chart that because, look, it's showing up here as resistance. So if we didn't chart it, we wouldn't know about it. VRAX also aggressively off the high, touched $9. Now it's literally at $6, $6.08. But funny enough, still holding above the volume weighted average price, which on my chart is in the mid-80s. There is this level, though, from the pre-market again, this $6.16 area, 6.25, 6.5. It's a bit of a wide range, holding for whatever reason as support. So all eyes on 6, but this one really stair-stepping down, and watching these small caps trade in the past. When you stair-step down like that, usually it leads to a flat bottom. Oh, I haven't even hit any animation keys today. That's why my thing wasn't working. We hit that flat bottom break, but be on the lookout for fake out breakdowns through 585. Don't want to get caught on this one the wrong way. ASTS, one that we waxed, whatever, I don't even know what I'm saying, about it last week. We were talking about this one a whole bunch last week. This one did a bit of a rounded top through 37 into 35, but look at that bounce off 35. If you had a resting order there, you're well in the money, about 75 pennies, $0.0025, but that rounded top, very interesting, still above the volume weighted average price. Nothing off which to base there. VRAX I already talked about, and ALZN. Sean had that monster winner on ALZN today. It's been it's done nothing. Essentially, if you're looking for a breakdown trade, since that time he took it out, 12.5 to the high side, 10.5 to the low side. You're gonna have to trade this as a range until it breaks up or breaks down today.
Yeah, definitely. But we're going to be breaking out in excitement for this super chat from Big Kyle Burdett. Thank you so much for the $4.99 super chat. Big Kyle saying he's a big Anchor VWAP fan. Where anchors and areas of interest coincide, I put on my biggest risk. Has proved profitable. Thank you very much to Kyle Burdett for the shout out there to again to use that Darwin nickname again, Mr. Bespoke VWAP himself. Brian Shannon, shout out there. Also, not a VWAP, but I do something with a normal VWAP here, and that is AMD question mark. You might be like, Adara, your AMD plotter seems like you know, very, very like it's in a on and off relationship, but will I, won't they, picking the pedals. He loves me not. And I say that because I've been in and out of this in both directions a little bit here. I want to explain what I'm trying to do here. Because to be clear, AMD, it's the same thesis. I was just trying to play it in different directions. Got in this short, got stopped out of the short. We broke above 152.30s. Got out, cut it off. Then I got long 152.30s because I waited. I was watching. I was seeing we're trying to push up to 152.50s. I was like, dope. 152.50 being my key level of resistance, right? So I was like, okay, cool. We break above it. I like it. Good times. So we break above it. Then I was like, okay, Adara, what you're going to do is you're going to build into a long position. I should have waited to see us hold above 152.50. I didn't do that. Instead, my plan was to get involved at 152.30s, then add every 10 cents, like add at 152.40s. Add at 152.50s. We didn't even really hold 152.30s after I got in, so that plan didn't work. Got out. However, then I flipped short again because we got below that 152, and it's like we got lower as well than we did in that first breakdown. This is the level that I really, really liked. I'm risking this still into 152.30, so that level continuing to be the theme of my AMD trades because it is still giving you that area of rejection. It's only when we get above 152.30s that AMD seems a little bit AM dicey as a short, and even then, it's mostly fake outs. So I'm going to be watching the volume here. I'm going to be staying in this trade. I'm willing to risk 30 pennies because, like I said, I still want all the smoke here at 150, just below 150, 150s. If I want, like, at least, like, we're getting close to 60 pennies here, and I'm risking 30s. That is a risk to reward ratio I can what? Live with. So I will not be, I don't know why I said it like that. I will not be adding in here unless or until we get to 150, 180s. I want to see us kind of break down below VWAP. We've gotten to mid 80s, but we haven't broken below 80s on AMD. So let's see what we get. Right now we're trying to bounce off 152 in the book, which is not a look I necessarily like. It's also frustrating here because then we have CrowdStrike now bouncing off 265s, and I like that look, but I was like, Adara, you've been, you know, CrowdStrike, I clearly don't have the confidence to trade, so I don't want to like rush into a trade in CrowdStrike just for the sake of rushing into a trade in CrowdStrike. But you know what else there is Crowd Nike. No, I'm joking, it's Nike. I just wanted to rhyme. But Nike here, shout out to Courtney Smith asking, what do I think of Nike? I've got to be honest here, I don't really have a ton of really strong thoughts on Nike. Beyond this 83.20 level is kind of interesting. And I say kind of, like I said, I don't want to like get into analysis if the levels are not screaming at me. To me, nothing in Nike is screaming at me. It's not like running a marathon here, it's kind of jogging in place. Hanging out around, I don't know what those sounds were. We're in the 83.05s to 83.20s, a bit of a 15-cent range. I think if we can get above here and bounce off 83.20s, that's a nice look. Then what I would be doing is look for kind of profit taking or for areas of interest, areas of support and resistance to flip on as we get to these areas of these lower highs and lower lows. So I'd be just drawing some lines there. That'd be my look. Shout out to Matthew Guerin here. Can you explain the direction of the SPY? Been a gainer. I don't really... No, yeah, if you could clarify the question, Matthew, but thank you very much for your super chat. I mean, I can look at the SPY for you. You guys know the SPY is one that I have, that is like one of the only order books I have open at all times. That 556.80 level I really, really like because we broke above it. Chop, churn, chop, churn, chop, churn, pop, turn. Pop goes the SPYzel. So good. No, that didn't work. So good look there. AMD trying to chop and churn here as well as we head into 152.20s. I think I'm going to chug some coffee here as we watch AMD hopefully not stop me out. I'm still trying to be optimistic here, guys, because you know what I'm like. The market could get you down, but it doesn't matter what your P&L is. Are you bullish? Are you bullish optimism? Are you working hard? Are you green in attitude? That's all that matters. See, I wish that my bull had money in it instead of just had happy thoughts, but that's what matters. You just got to keep pushing every day. I can't talk anymore.
I don't want to laugh because I'm going to cough, and if I cough, you guys are going to get sick. So, what's going on over there, Katina Man? The Katina Man is long socks L at 39s. To be quite honest with you, I have no idea where it's at, so it behooves me to look at socks L right now. Shout out to him. It sounds, from the looks of it, he's printing up a storm, and yeah, he is. So great trade right now for the Katina Man as this one breaks through almost the $2/3 of a dollar. The Katina Man is now short PLTR as well. Let's look at Palantir. It's at VWAP. And so he's taken this bad boy short. Lower high, lower high, lower high, and now key area of resistance. Shout out to him. PLTR, obviously, you know, he's very bullish to the company in general. He's holding it in his long-term portfolio, but that doesn't mean he can't trade it intraday. So shout out to him. And the closing print, by the way, 32.08. We got news from Palantir last week. What was that news item again? That they were going to do something with that company. Allow me a second here. Yeah, there was news.
My brain is like.
Yeah, sorry about that, guys. Yeah, my brain is freezing as well. Anyway, big news from Palantir last week after their earnings. Earnings was obviously very strong the week prior, but they were obviously subject to the big Monday, the big red Monday that people get really upset when we call Black Monday.
Oh, it's the AIP thing. They had some news with their AIP. Also, Ramin was saying our brains were snoozed from the news. So thank you, Ramin, for making us laugh every single day.
Yeah.
Yes, early.
Yeah, no, it's okay. All right, the Future just printed a new high of day as the market really strong now, looking at moving into 19.7. Very aggressive move up here. Ram, if we can show the chart, 19.7, Ram. I mean, like, put some respect on 19.7's name. 19.695 technically is the high of the day, but we are on our way to 19.7. We've broken through the local highs there at 80s. We broke above the pre-market, or not the pre-market, the overnight high, at 88s. We've broken above the 2:50 p.m. print from Friday. So this is, I don't want to call this unexplored territory. We're almost at 22,000 about a month ago, but the recovery into 20,000, possibly continuing today as now we're up 0.46, looking to go 0.5%, Katina, man. Here comes 19.7, big move up right now on the Future midday. Yeah, who said that there's nothing to trade during the midday show? No, there is, because we're breaking up through these highs. Nvidia at the high, Tesla breaking out through that 221 1/3 local area resistance there. I thought I heard something. Tesla above the 50 penny level. A good move up here. Apple absolutely dead. It's not participating in this move at all. It's really Tesla and Nvidia here that are breaking up. Google's also, I don't want to disrespect Google because it's been shellacked lately, but 1 3/4. Put some respect on Google's name as well as we come into those. Yeah, get it, Katina, man. As we get into that 166 area, we're very close to the high of day that we printed a little earlier on, 165.87. We're printing 7.9s now. So basically less than 10 pennies away from that high. You've got the soft one as well, breaking into that 419 1/4. Lots of strength. I was looking at this trade. All right, so Meta was very strong early. It went red, it went green to red, it went back to green again. Now we've been red for a hot minute, since basically 11 onward. Now, when this inverse hammer candle popped in close to VWAP, I was very close to getting short. What prevented me from getting in short on this candle over here is it ended up being an inside candle. So we neither took the low nor broke the high of this 1245 candle over here. So I said, this is interesting. This is a candle of indecision. We're ensconced by the previous candle. This one, same look right now, but if you had to ask, or if I had to answer, I should say, 527 incoming here. My question is, do we reject off this 527 to 527.50 on META? This 527.50 is not a random 50 penny level. That is Friday's closing print, and we've got it about 40 pennies away from VWAP. That's a whole bunch of resistance packed into one small area on a $500 name. I'm very interested here in Meta. We've been trading it already. I'll trade it again, both to the long side and the short side here on the day on META. Obviously, very good last couple of weeks for Meta. And if you saw what happened after their last earnings, when they dipped into 400, no, that was the previous earnings before that. It was a great buy. If anybody was able to pick Meta up off 400 from a couple of earnings ago, you're obviously well in the money now, Dara. So we'll keep tabs on the Mag 7. We've been keeping tabs on the small cap gappers, and there's plenty to talk about today.
What is it called when a stock isn't bearish or bullish? Is it just like, because I'm trying to find a way to describe AMD right now.
Consolidative?
You're right, I like that.
What did you call it, Ram?
What did she call it? She said it's babish. If it's not a bear or a bull, it's a babe. Shout out to Ramin there, coming up with some new stock terms. Ramin's like, we're in the trading world, I will be naming terms. So I want to shout out Ramin for that. But anyways, I had that weird caveat. All of this is to say that AMD, to me, honestly, is trying to pick a lane still. Shout out to Hog Rider, speaking of lanes, I guess, because your motorcycles, you should be driving in a lane, saying that AMD is a long. I was short AMD and I got out because we broke above 152.30. Since I got out, we've not broken back above it. I think AMD is not long or short yet. I think it needs to make up its mind, and I think it's made up its mind once it does something at 152.50. Until it gets to that level, I have no plans on it. I have nothing. I just will wave my hand and continue to drink my caffeinated beverages while watching it. That being said, am I in this trade right now? Yes, I am. And I actually feel okay about it, relatively speaking. I am involved in Zim. Why am I involved in Zim? I talked about this earlier. I like this range on Zim, but more specifically, I like this potential breakdown in Zim at the 23 area. Let me.
Send it to me.
Yeah, so I'm going to show it to you. I appreciate that.
You can get it. I always like a good yawn here and there. It's all good. All right, so this is the look on Meta, and I've been continuing to watch this. I mean, we're accumulating here at the volume-weighted average price. Meta, to me, is at the volume-weighted average price, pardon me, 527.08. I just finished talking about this, 527.08 to 527.50. The reason I'm really interested on this level, because we're at 17,000 on the future, 16,999.75. So we've done all but print 19.7. We're a quarter point away from the high. So if we're racking up, stacking up, accumulating at 19.7, do we and breach it? If we breach it, this is an if-then statement, right? If you breach 19.7 on the future, do you get that concurrent breach through VWAP on Meta? And if so, does it breach the previous high? So let's have a look at said previous high over here, because it's a gnarly trough or crest, excuse me, and a very identifiable one at that. I'll get it right, guys. 528 is where the wick takes us. So this area high that we printed right 11 is at 528. But the closing print, funny enough, was able to work its way down below the volume-weighted average price at 527. I believe the closing print there, it says 527.57. So all this accumulation here on Meta for what may amount to nothing, as we're still below VWAP here on Meta, and we're still below 19.7, excuse me, on the future. I don't have a trade, to be quite honest with you, on anything right now. I don't want to take Meta short at VWAP because we're too close to 19.7. So I'm concerned about a 19.7 break. I'm also not going to take anything on Apple because it's doing absolutely nothing. I don't have a read on Amazon only because, well, we just broke through pivots and got into that area resistance at 177.50, but we're not really rejecting nor breaking up through that level. So it's either a short on Amazon here or a pack your patience until the future breaks 19.7. So I got personally nothing at these levels, but that's fine. We can wait for some better stuff to come in. For example, on Softy, 418.50. I'm all eyes and ears on that level on Softy. Reason being, it's a closing print from Friday. It was a local area resistance over here at 10.50 and 11. We've cleared it by some distance. If we come back into the level, I want to take a long. But yeah, there is not as much sticking out to me as there was earlier, Adair.
Yeah, thank you for taking over there. I have to shout out this pun there from Hoshino BMX saying yon analysis equals yon analysis. Yeah, I love that. Definitely trying to give just some straight analysis here, though. To finish what I was trying to say there, and get a story about that guy. Shout out to Sherry for stepping in. Zim integrated shipping. I am hoping that this will ship me some profit. And I've drawn some lines so I can explain what I'm trying to do here, in case, yawns decide that they would like to make cameos again. I like this area right below that 2340 as a stop, because that was an area we had some chop and churn earlier that would also kind of be a higher high. I don't want a higher high. I should have probably been getting involved in this when it was more at the top of that range, but it's like, I think we're seeing these lower highs. I like this kind of baby little chop and turn, that tango. Now, what are these other lines I've drawn below? That's where I'm looking to add. I want to add here, if we get decisively below 2320, to me, that's a bit of an area of resistance, and that's also the biggest area that I wrote down for Zim integrated shipping on my little document for myself, which is called Tickers to Look At. And I liked that level, so we're going to have to see if Zim does ship me some profit. If it breaks above the 9 EMA, I'm going to have to be shipping myself out of this trade. Like I said, it's always a bit frustrating when you have a day that starts out pretty well. I did have some solid trades there to start the day, longs on AMD, Amazon and Meta, and then things happen. You just have to reflect, why did you go wrong? What happened there? What occurred? and do some reflection and some journaling there. I think that's really, really key. I think the biggest thing, though, too, was I felt really confident in both of those trades in a way that I didn't necessarily about some of the other trades. To be clear, I felt really good about this Palantir short, and then I got basically wiped out of Palantir on this IRI, and then it quadrunked, right? So it's really easy, I think, sometimes to get in your head, have the market get you like, but you have to trust yourself and not, you know what I mean? Trust yourself, trust your ideas. If you have to get out, you have to get out. I'm happy you didn't, like, you know, revenge trade Palantir. That made sense. Arguably should not have gotten back into CrowdStrike, but that's what the journaling is for, trying to learn from that every single day. Showed it as well. There was someone here in the chat, Michael Mulvey, saying that's keeping it real, Adair, I guess, with the audience. Yeah, I mean, we really want to be honest. I had one of my best days since going live. Like I would say, my top 3 or top 5 on Friday. Today, really good start, kind of an iffy middle of the day. And that's why I also, speaking of keeping it real, I'm really open about my tired trading rules. I want to shout out Sean as well, because he and I have had some conversations about this too off camera. I feel like, you know, people have different biases. I know I have tired bias. Shout out to the long that you, or the yawn, long yawns. Short yawns, that yawn that you just saw a couple of minutes ago there, right? Like I know during the afternoon I get a little bit sleepier. So that's something I have to be aware of and I have to be more cognizant of in my trading later in the day. I don't think I was trading with my tired trading rules very much today. We do have a pop back up here in Zim. So I have shipped myself out of Zim for about a 20-cent loss here. That's a little bit unfortunate, of course. Going to have to be very cautious going to these trades, sipping some caffeine, and as Drake says, scheming, plotting, scheming, getting money. I don't know if we're going to be getting any. We certainly will be trying. It's also 1:03 p.m., so I almost said a.m. That'd be very different. So we're going to be getting to that last lesson of the day soon. But right now, Sharif, what do you? Oh, Polestar.
Oh, I'm just looking at it because it's down like 8%.
I was just wondering if Polestar was doing things. Yeah.
No, nothing really today on Polestar. Well, it is doing things, Adair, because it's down 7 2/3. So keep tabs on that. That's a lottery ticket that I got, guys. You know, just got some shareage there for Polestar, and I'll take it to 0 if I have to. It's a very, very small position. See if we can break up on that stock. They just opened up their South Carolina plant, so they're able to circumvent the 100% tariff coming in on Chinese EVs. Obviously, they're owned half by Volvo, half by Geely, the Chinese electric vehicle company, and there was concerns, obviously, that they would be subject to that tax. Apparently, they're not going to be subject to that tax, but we'll have to see. That could change at any time. So. And that's the funny thing too. Like I'm gonna slow down for a second here and start talking about some non-trading related stuff. And that's the thing. We see them so often on Toronto streets, but when you look at their world sales, it's dismal. It's really bad. And because number one, they have no presence in both the countries that own them. They have very little presence in Europe and almost no presence in China, yet they're owned by Swedish and Chinese company, and they're doing well in Canada. So it's a little bewildering to me. So I said, hey, you know, get yourself a lottery ticket. How often have you got yourself a lottery ticket? So, you know, obviously a negligible amount of shares, but if it goes up, I'll be pleased as dang punch. So we'll keep tabs on that. Thank you, Dick. All right, 19.7, we breached it, by the way. 19.701 is the high of the day, and you saw Nvidia really benefit from that 19.701 break as it printed broke above, I should say, 127.50, still below the double top that we put in a little earlier at 127 2/3. So Nvidia awfully strong, a beautiful hold here off the 20 exponential. This is where I got in initially, but you know, obviously didn't hold it long enough, and now we're well above that 127 area of local resistance, 127.25 area of local resistance there that we put in during the midday. Meta still below VWAP. And if we reject 19.7 here, 19.7, this is going to be a really interesting short on Meta. I mean, you're getting all these candles of indecision. They're all basically either topping tail or doji style candles, which, you know, don't show you direction. If I could choose, or if I could discern something here, I see higher lows on some of these candles. I don't want to put too much stock into it, especially because it's a lower high off that area crest over here into 528 and still below the volume weighted average price. So a 19.7 big boy rejection, and we could absolutely see Meta flush aggressively off that 527 high 526s and come back down. Well, I don't know where, maybe 525s, 524s. You'll have to do your analysis there to figure that out. So keeping an eye on these ones. Don't really have much else on at the moment. Want to look at some of these small cap gappers as Adaira sets up for the lesson.
Yeah. So we're going to be doing that.
I didn't mean to push you into that. Yeah,
no, sorry. We're going to do the lesson. Right before we go to the lesson, though, I just want to talk about AMD quickly.
Sure.
AMD should be winning a prize for most bamboozling stock today. Because I've been watching this book. I've been watching this chart. Hog Rider is saying AMD looks like it's curling. I was like, oh, yeah, I agree. I just pulled it up. I said, and I stand by this, I am not getting involved in AMD again as a long until I see it break above 152.50. And I said the Hog Rider, I stand by that. And I was like, oh, at the time I sent that message, I was like, oh, it's holding 152.30 so well. Then it drops 152.30, bouncing off 152.15s. I don't think AMD knows what it wants to do. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not going to be looking at this anytime, Lisa, soon, until it gets above that 152.50. But if you do that while I'm in the lesson, I will be getting involved as a long. But for now, you know what we're going to be bullish on? Learning. Let's talk about understanding moving averages because they are really important to understand. They're a huge part of trading, and it's kind of like one of those little basic building blocks you need for these here markets. So what is a moving average? The technical analysis tool, and again, none of these are rules. They're always going to be tools, right, that you can incorporate in your trading arsenal. Shout out to Sharif in a sport that I know starts probably within the next month, right?
Started on the weekend. Yeah, Arsenal won 2-0, City won 2-0, everybody won. All the big names. Anyway.
I'm behind, I guess, on my soccer lore there. But shout out there. Yeah, basically, it's one tool, one of many tools you can have here. And the moving averages also helps to identify trends and potential support and resistance levels. And by averaging past prices, your MAs can actually help you filter out short-term noise and uncover underlying trends. So also, the simple moving average is huge here. The SMA is the most basic type of moving average, and it's calculated by adding up the number of closing prices of a security over a specific number of periods and dividing by that number. So SMA equals price 1 plus price 2, whatever, until you get to that number, divided by that number. So let's say you want a 150-day. That's a really specific one, but it's like 150-day MA. You're going to add up those prices for those 150 days and divide it by 150. That's the average prices. Basically, if you're calculating a mean, that is exactly how you calculate it. For example, a 10-day SMA would add the closing prices in the last 10 days and divide by 10. So let's talk about the EMA here. So, some key points about the SMA first. So it does give you some equal weight to all data points. So instead of it's like, how we talk about the equal weight S&P 500. Instead of where there's it's weighted towards certain stocks, you'll get all 500 stocks weighted equally. That's like the SMA. All the data points are given the same amount of weight, and it'll lag behind price changes due to its calculation method because all of those days involved are all counted equally. It's often, because it gives equal weight here, it's often used to identify longer-term trends, especially if you're talking about the 200 MA, some of these longer-term moving averages, like especially what we hear a lot about on the big desk with those big kahunas. The exponential moving average is huge as well. This is one that I use. I know I use the 90 EMA, Sharif uses the 10 EMA, and oftentimes they'll end up being the same because they're one day apart, right? We'll be like, oh, this level, and they're almost the same level. So I think it's kind of interesting we use those. The EMA will place more weight on recent prices than on older prices, exponential, right? So it's moving a little bit more exponentially closer to where you are in the day. So this does make it more responsive to price changes compared to the SMA. And as such, it is calculated differently. It's using a smoothing factor. So the formula is more complex than the SMA, but it basically involves assigning higher weights to recent prices. So here's some key points about the EMA. Again, giving more weight to recent prices, and as such, it does react to these price changes much more quickly than the SMA because you're looking for recency, right? If a thing moves right away, the EMA is going to be, what that face was, we'll be doing that. We'll be doing that dance, that wig shimmy dance there with that EMA. It's also often used for shorter-term trading and identifying trend changes, again, because it is one of these, I guess, more immediate things to look at. But how do you compare these? Well, SMA, as we said, definitely going to be more suited here for, longer-term trends because it does have that smoothing effect, and the EMA is more responsive to price changes, and as such, it's preferred by many traders for shorter-term analysis. Like, as I said, Sharif and I know you'll use like the 1 and the 5 for trading. I use mostly the 5, but I'll use basically anything kind of below the 1 hour. So these are definitely going to be better examples here. And basically what you want to see here is that moving average is valuable tools here for technical analysis, but you always want to make sure you're using them in tandem with other tools. And we're going to be getting into this over the next 2 weeks, which has been great. And again, I want to shout out Sheree for preparing these lessons, longer term lessons now that we're looking at to see how things, get a better sense of all of these different tools. Also, AMD now at 152.15s. We did not get 152.50s. Wow, that thing is weak. How are you doing?
Good. I'm in Google and I'm in Meta at these levels. Out of the money on Meta, flat on Google as we did reject 19.7. So not going to give Meta much more room. Google will give to the 50 penny area. The reason I'm in Google is because it basically came into the 10 exponential and I was looking for a hold up at that area. There was also a nice area of previous resistance, now looking for it to act as support with this area over here, this 165.50 area. So we were waffling literally all day at that level. So I said, look, if we cleared it, do I want to use it now as an area of support? And that's exactly what I'm doing. We're a gnarly 1 penny in the money right now, but I am concerned. Because we did reject off the 10x, or we did reject, 19.7 on the futures. We're still above the 10 exponential moving average there. My Meta position is in some trouble as we got in 95s. We are now printing 55s. So we're 40 pennies out of the money on Meta as it does reject the volume weighted average price. I thought we were basically accumulating for a top break. Shows what I knew. So if we break down here, we're going to get out of this one and we'll go negative on it. Well, even though we started positive on the day on Meta, but there it is. So it does break. So now let me just double check. Are we negative on Meta? Yes, we are negative on Meta at the moment. So not a bit of a tougher look there on Meta. So should have stuck with the original bias, which is short off VWAP. I don't know why I switched up there. That's not good for me. Also, Google coming down. So I was looking for a 19.7 rejection or a break. Now we get a 19.7 rejection, and that has both of one last position that I have right now, currently out of the money on this level. I'm going to keep seeing if we break down. My level is 50 pennies, 165.50, and I'm all done my trade there. You have Nvidia off the highs as well, but yeah, we'll keep a look there. As I want to flip into Microsoft, as it's also at that 418.25 level. This is the level we were talking about earlier as a possible area of support there on MSFT. So I'm liking that. We'll see what we get, and we won't get upset for that level. I'm going to punch and see if we can continue to move up. The break of $0.25 is where I'm gonzino on this one. So we're going to have to hope that it doesn't break down any lower right now than the $0.25, because that's where the volume weighted average price is. So out of the money currently on the Google trade by about 4 pennies, about flat right now on Microsoft, looking for a hold up at these levels. But if the market keeps giving it up, I'm out.
Yeah, I'm in a Tesla short right now. To be clear, I think Tesla is short. I don't know if I'm playing this correctly. What I initially wanted was a 221, I wanted to watch this retest 221, then get short. We retest 221, I don't get filled. We get to 220.78, and that was the area I was watching earlier. I was like, okay, I like that we're here. To be clear, we've been within 10 pennies of my entry since I got in. I don't have necessarily qualms here. I just don't like what we're doing on the book here. I would like to see us get back to rejecting that 220.78 level. That is really what I want to be seeing here. I'm risking this into 221s. So I don't want that to do something for me, because if that does something for me, I'm going to have to get out of the trade. In terms of what areas I'm targeting here, I'm targeting 220.40s. Why am I targeting 220.40s? Look at that big old bottoming tail candle. I'm taking out 2/3 of the position, get here to 220.40s. We'll do 41s just because it's me and I'm really skeptical and it's Tesla. And so we don't want to give you any room to do anything that I don't want you to do. You know what I mean? So I don't know what that voice was, but we're going to be getting out here 220.40s again at 2/3 of the position. Keep a final third for the dream, because I do think with Tesla, if you get that move down, especially Tesla moving in tandem with the markets, happens not very much, right? And so I haven't been looking at Tesla enough today, but I watched the book. I was like, hey, Adara, you've been watching the 220.78s. That has been happening. Do I love that I chased this a little bit? I will admit I was a bit chasey. No, I don't necessarily love that I was chasey, but honestly, I'm actually risking less here on this trade than I would have had I gotten involved at 221s, because I was getting at 221s. I would have risked into 221.30s, risking 30 cents. Here I'm risking 20 cents, and I actually took more size because I felt better about that level, because I had, to me, a cleaner risk reward. So sometimes, you got it, silver linings, right? Sometimes you're going to be up, sometimes you're going to be down. I'm actually got trade theme nails to reflect that. We've got the green triangles up and the red goes down. So yeah, I mean, right, like the markets are going to give you highs and lows. You got to roll with the punches and see how this goes here. Let's Tesla. We're like 20 pennies in the money right now. Let's go TSLA. I needed this right now. Again, you can't let the market get you down because it would love to, but you know what else you could definitely do, and we would love for you to do is get into that chat, exclamation point, join, space, $, ticker. Because if you get in that chat, you get to see what Sean and Neil might have to say about these tickers of choice. And guys, we want to make sure too, a lot of these tickers we get voted for are tickers we're all going to talk about, right? We're going to talk about Meta. We're going to talk about Tesla. We're going to talk about AMD. But what about a ticker that we might not talk about? What, maybe you're like, hey, what about that awesome trade Sean had this morning on that Alva Neuro, that one, Alza. Maybe you want to hear about that ALZN. Maybe you want to hear about Astis. Maybe you want to hear about Google. I don't know, whatever ticker you go, I guess people talk about Google. The point is, get in that chat, let us know what tickers you're looking at, because we want to make sure that we are representing everybody in this chat based on this, brought to you by Real Trading. We want to make sure that we are happy having these real things that you guys are trading here. Tesla, get down. I really want to see us break here into 41s. That could do something for me, Sharif. You know I'd be pleased as punch.
I know you would be.
We're all in Mag 7s over here. What are you up to?
Honestly, I'm in Microsoft and I'm in Google. Yeah, the entry on Microsoft was a VWAP entry. I'm looking for it to hold the previous area of resistance. Hopefully now currently support that says VWAP area. We zigged and zagged with this specific area all morning. We're basically break even on it now in the same trade on Google. Break even on Softy, break even on Google at these levels, not breaking down. And my concern is that we whiffle and waffle and have some zig and zag price action because we don't clear 19.7. And that's exactly what's happening right now. You didn't really get a market flush off that 19.7 touch, but you didn't really have a decided 19.7 break either. So areas of indecision right now, you feel like on these Mag 7 names. So I'm packing my patience. I'm in where I want to be, I guess, on some of these names. But the market has a way of making you feel this big about yourself when it makes you, when you're wrong. So here we go. Looking for a move up here on Softy. I'm waiting at around at mid 60s there for the bounce up. What I'm seeing is two inverse hammer candles bouncing off VWAP, but that won't mean much unless I print. Okay, I can see all the candles and all the types of candles that I want to see. If it doesn't print to the high side, they mean bupkis. So continuing to watch, looking for about a 65 penny break there on MSFT. Here we go with 55s. I'd like a little bit higher. Now we're showing 57s over here. Yeah, okay, we'll pack our patience and then we'll see what comes from this trade. Google, 1 penny out of the money. Currently on this trade, I was able to add at this level over here, but the break of 50 pennies, that's the end of the trade on GOOGL. I'd like to see a bit of a hold at this area. This 165.50, 165.60 was an area that I saw as a possible local area of previous resistance. Now you look to it to act as support. Doesn't always have to be that way, but that's the situation currently. All right, let's go a little bit over here, Softy, as we move up on Microsoft. Now we're printing 60s. I'm looking for around mid 60s here to get printed, but it looks like there is a bit of a seller at the 10 penny area, right at 60. There's really no size to be spoken of there other than just one lot, a pop. But we're not really able to break through it. Let's see, now we're printing 63s. If we can print a little bit higher over here, we'll get filled awfully close to getting filled at this level here on Softy. So we'll just take, hopefully, yeah. Oh, God. I hate when I don't get printed.
It's all right. So sad.
Yeah, that's fine. We'll take it out there. So that's the look. We'll wet our beak a little bit on Microsoft. Let's see if we can continue to move up. Back to Google over here. Nothing doing on Google currently. It hasn't really been the most directional of the names, certainly, but looking for this one to hold 165.50, possibly move back up. I know that it's awfully dependent on the future. If the future really gives way at the levels that we're currently at, I don't see Google holding above that 50 penny level. Whether it has it doesn't really have a catalyst right now anyway, so it's not really going to move on its own, of its own volition. All right, nicely in the money here on Softy, about 21 pennies in the money. Here comes 75s. Let's see if we can get a little bit higher. Obviously, the local high on MSFT is 419.20. So I'd like to get something possibly at 419 if this market will allow me. So I'm just going to wait in the low 90s. So we'll put that beak wetter in and around there for a possible move back into the whole dollar. But it's all really predicated upon the futures not really giving way below the lows currently. So if future gives way, my trades are in trouble. There's just no two ways about that. And that is what we have to come to grips with. All right, back to Google here, still waiting on this bad boy, but not really getting much in the way of directions. Adair, you were printing up a storm while I was talking. Tell us all about it.
A little bit. I don't know if it's small hail here, small smattering of hail. I appreciate that, though. TSLA. I am in here. I got involved in the short initially, 220.78s. And like I said, I was a little bit worried. I was chasing, but I was like, you know what, Adara, the risk to reward actually makes more sense with this point of entry. I've kind of been piecing in and out here as we go. I am going to be getting out if we get above 80s because to me, like, that's break even on the first part of the position, but I think I'm entirely out of that first piece at this point. I was kind of getting out as we dipped into those 220.45s, but now it looks like the future's trying to push higher here. Not that the Tesla necessarily cares about the future, but sometimes it does, so I want to be cognizant of that. Either way, I don't have a reason to leave till we get back above into those 80s. Since we rejected 80s, we have not really come back there. So for me, if we come back there, that's where things are going to get dicey. That being said, I'm happy I have the confidence in this trade. This is the largest position I've had in Tesla in many moons. I don't know since I've gone live, but it's certainly been a while. Happy I tried that. As we push violently into 80s, I'm going to have to say au revoir to the Cybertruck one. It's been fun. We had a good time. It was fun while it lasted. Took some profit. Said goodbye. That's what matters here in this market is sometimes things go well, sometimes they don't. Tesla, we're basically flat on Tesla, so yeah, lots of things to trade today. Like I said, I'm not trying to usually check my P&L today. I'm just because I know things were dicey, and I'm like, how much risk do we have? You know what I mean? So unfortunately, it's one of those days. But you know what's great is the market is there are so many days, and you can come back the next day and keep killing it, keep crushing it. I really want to work in consistency. I feel like the consistency is not there right now, and that's one thing that, as a trader, you really need. So I'm trying to push harder towards. Happy I tried that trade, though. It made sense. I had risk to reward parameters that made sense. Got out when those failed, so all good. Where's the next trade? But also, if you have a trade that you want to know if that's your next trade or if it was a trade that you have questions about or anything like that, exclamation point, join, space, $, ticker, get in that chart. Not get in that chart, get in the chat. Yep. And then we can look at that chart with Sharif on green screen. Also, before I pass it back to you, I really want to shout out that Microsoft trade. I really love that. I saw that look. That was a really dope look there on MSFT. And yeah, because that's a harder one to trade. So it's micro hard. It can be micro hard to trade Microsoft. Just without that spread is like I got chopped in that one on Friday, so I just want to shout you out for those awesome trades. Now you are in 3 Meg 7 pals.
I am. I'm in Apple because of the double. Like it's had a whole bunch of support at 223.70-ish. I'm late to the party though on Apple, so that is. I'll talk about that one in a second. But I'm concerned about this Microsoft trade. Look, I've moved up my stop from where I initially had it. It's going to go to the bottom area trough over here. So we're long at 44s on Softy. We're going to have to take it out if it breaks 30 or 25, excuse me, there, because of the way that it's been basically trading this almost like a false pop. So just allow me here a second to adjust my stop on the soft one. So we're going to go like that, and then we're going to go basically take out everything there. So the stop has been adjusted. Still holding here on Apple. I'm looking for a move possibly back into VWAP at 43s. We'll see. Sorry for the distortions, by the way, on AAPL. I'll fix that dark pool print in a second. Just allow me a minute. Once I send it back to Adair, we'll have that one fixed up. I'm still in Google, even though the position is 4 pennies out of the money on Google. It's still holding that $0.50 level. It's holding the 20 exponential. And most importantly, of that whole thing, it's holding the previous area of resistance. Look at this double top at the $0.50. If it gives it up, it gives it up. I mean, that's just what trading is. You're going to have to take it and not bad word about it, right? But that's the situation. So we'll keep tabs on that. Let's go back to Apple, see if I got printed on that. Still waiting, even though Apple popped in there into about 18s. It didn't get the print for whatever reason. I didn't even really see exactly where it was, but I'm still waiting for a move back into VWAP here, possibly on Apple. That'll take us about 224 1/3. If we break down below 224, that's really going to be the end of my trade. We really need to hold up above this double bottom at 223.75. If that isn't going to hold up, then that's not going to hold up. So moved up the stop on Softy, got into the trade on Apple, still in the trade on Google over here, looking for a move up here on Google. Like, you're holding, you're doing everything right, Google. It's just you're not moving. Here's what I'm talking about when I say you're doing everything right. Sounds like I'm maybe seeing what I want to see, but this is the area of consolidation that we've been in. The low end there is the 50 penny area. I already made my point very clear that I feel 50 pennies is an interesting area of support or resistance, depending if you're coming from the north or south side on it today on GOOGL. But we'll have to wait and see. Nvidia is just an absolute monster. 128 incoming on NVDA. Technically 127.99. It looks like we're printing 99s right now. So didn't have eyes on that. It looks like there's all sorts of resistance at 99s, and that could spell trouble for this market if we reject that level, because I kind of feel Nvidia has been holding up the future, and here it is. There is all sorts of size. This is lottage, by the way, guys. This is not share size. These are lots. So there you can see the amount of size they're waiting at 128. It looks as if it's a little over 5,000, maybe around 6,000 lots. Here we go at the whole dollar on NVDA. What a move in today. NVIDIA's been an absolute monster to the high side. Who could complain about this name? I guess maybe if you were shorting it, you had some trouble with this. I took it short, but hey, we printed on it, so I'm not going to complain about that. Obviously, it looked like more of a long today, so keeping tabs on that. Go Microsoft. Come on, go back up. I'm waiting at around 418, low 90s, Softy. I got the print on Apple. Let's see if we can work into that 1/3 of a dollar on AAPL. I've been waiting for a possible VWAP retracement. Anything below 224, though, Adara, and I'm Gonzino.
Yeah, go back up Microsoft, you punk. I'm trying to, help with that.
I appreciate
also, it. AMD, back up with that 50-cent level. Don't worry, guys. I was watching this breakout. Wasn't able to get filled exactly where I wanted, but much like my Tesla, I can do a compromise. I'm risking here into 152.50s. If the bow breaks, the cradle will fall at Adara will no longer be rockabye babying, and AMD, we'll pretend that analogy worked better than it did. But we're in this AMD here. I'm trading this off the 1 minute because I want to basically see what we were able to wick into. That was like a violent push up here. Finally above that area. I'm proud of myself. I honestly, after that Tesla, I was like, Adara, you don't have much risk left. Really, you should not be trading unless something screams at you. And honestly, the only thing I knew that would be screaming at me here was going to be the A to the M to the D. I was also interested in a Palantir long off VWAP. That happened without me. That's fine. I felt way better about the AMD. So let's see what happens here. I'm interested in kind of piecing into this. If we get into like mid 70s, I want to just kind of see all of these wicks that we had. I want to see clear these levels. As we clear these levels, I want to be adding. I will absolutely be taking some out, if not everything here at 153s. That was an obvious area. If we get below 152.50s with any kind of viciousness, swiftness, violence, whatever weird words you want to use, that's where we're going to have to be leaving this AMD. But if you've been looking at AMD or any stock, we want to know about it. We have this new segment. It's brought to you by Real Trading. Shout out to Real Trading. Go in that chat. Exclamation point join. Space, $, ticker. Let us know what you're looking at, because we want to be able to be aware. We want to make sure that we're covering all those stocks that you guys want to look at. Because this audience segment is huge, and we're really happy with it, and we want you all to get involved as well.
Yeah.
Thank you, Elon. I do not know if I will be printing on AMD. Hopefully, we are still pushing. I don't want to have to call AMD a punk. I really don't want to do that. I like calling stocks punks on Sharif's behalf, but you know what I mean? Because I know Sharif is like all like pro bully. Bully your friends in the chat, get them to vote. I do not like, I like to be more like kind of bullish positivity with my stocks. So I'm just going to continue to drink my myriad caffeinated beverages, wait for this AMD. Like I said, if we get to 75s and hold, I will be adding a little bit here, because I think what I've realized is there are times where you want to be pushing risk. This is this. I've been watching this all day. Like for me, if I don't push this here, what am I doing? Did I have this level? I actually had this level written on my tickers to look at when I was at the big desk too. So I've been, nice. Push above here, 70. We're going to be adding here. If we get back to these 70, 77, 78s, let's see if we can add here another half to this position. Like I said, I want this to be my big white whale trade. I love this. Tried it as a short. Slightly successful, tried it as long, wasn't able to make it work. Now that we have this moment here, we've waited, we've watched, we plotted, we schemed. Now is it time to do the furthest thing from what I was doing earlier today, shout out to Drake, and get money? We'll find out. We're gonna have to be moving the stop as I go as well. How are you doing over here?
Good. I took out Microsoft today because it's putting in lower highs. So I saw these lower highs over here, and we know it's essentially flat on the day, up 0.02. So this lower high really had me concerned. 3 candles of indecision currently. So I said, look, I'm not going to watch this. Come back down into my area, out of Microsoft, and it looks like I'm going to be out of Google very soon if it breaks $0.50, because now the future is really not, we're not claiming 19.7. And so Google is finally coming down, deciding which way it wants to go. Sad that it's going to go against me here, but hey, those are the breaks. So here comes the $0.50. I need to see if this gets triggered. We're printing 50s right now. Let's see if there's somebody that wants to step in to buy this up at the $0.50. It looks like there is, again, for the umpteenth time today, somebody stepping in at the dang $0.50, 165 $0.50, and bringing this one up again. I'm just unsure exactly how to trade this right now. You felt like you were getting the holds at the 20 exponential, and you're really not. So it's consolidative. So, I mean, I should probably let this one go, as I'm only 9 pennies out of the money on this one. I'm just too stubborn. I want to see it go my way, and if that means getting in trouble, well, then so be it. So we'll see exactly. Well, we're back break even on this. It just makes you feel like you may not have the right read. I mean, I'm just talking about myself here, getting in at levels where I thought, this is where we're going to bounce off. There's a good area of support here. But the market always has a way of making you feel like you don't understand anything. But there goes the 128 level on Nvidia. New high of day now, 128.10. Awfully strong on the day, very directional. Knows what it wants to do, how it wants to trade, up 2.83. I mean, there was really nothing bad about the catalyst today from AMD that hurt Nvidia. You kind of feel like Nvidia was already killing it in that business with all the partnerships that it has with Super Microcomputer, HP. It's got partnerships with Dell, all in the server business, and that's keeping them very busy. Obviously, AMD needs to do something similar to that, hence the acquisition today. So everything moving up here, Microsoft included, Amazon on the way up, Nvidia obviously on the way up, the future working its way back into 19.7. Google absolutely doing nothing. I'm still in one more trade, though, that I didn't talk about, which is AAPL on this level. So the reason I'm not out of Apple here is because I'm waiting for it to either break below 223.95 or find its way into that third of a dollar at the volume weighted average price. I'm packing my patience here on Apple. Was able to wet my beak there at 20s. Here comes 19.7 again. And Google's doing absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing, and the market moves up. So chose the wrong one. That's on me. And I certainly chose the wrong out here on Microsoft, as it's well through the level that I was trying to get it in at 70s. Now printing 90s. Good move here for Microsoft. I'm not involved. Sucks to be me.
Yeah, I mean, sure, if it makes you feel any better, it sucks to me too. Me too. I always shut down on that AMD. I'm going to be really honest with you guys.
I hear you.
I should have managed this better. I should have honestly, I don't know, literally so much aggressive journaling. This is why, hey, maybe if you've got 3 caffeinated beverages going, you're maybe too tired to trade. All jokes aside, though, I am aware of my tired bias. Should have been managing it better. Clearly, when I was yawning through words, maybe this was not a vibe. So honestly, like I said, it's a Monday. So we only have, I actually won't be here in the midday on Friday. I'll be at the show, but we'll actually have Opie and Sharif on Friday. So I have 3 more days for me to trade. Definitely need to learn to take some stuff better here. We got to be learning. We got to be journaling. Learning? I don't know. But yeah, honestly, that's what happens here. I really want to work consistency. The consistency is not there. We should not be having, I think this is definitely my worst day since going live, and then one of my best days since going live. Those should not be back to back. But that's why I love being a part of the show. We are all about honesty here. We are bullish honesty. We are bullish positivity. I'm happy I tried the breakout. I definitely failed the execution of it. So that is why I'm saying this. I just really, I want to be really real about this. We've got 25 minutes left. I might switch to the same here time to just kind of keep this open, though, because I'm going to have to be doing a lot of, like I said, journaling tonight with my live open. Good times there. I mean, sarcastic, but what is good is always learning, and I think sometimes you learn through taking else. Crypto pumping. Yeah, I saw this, and then I pulled this up. The thing is, crypto pumping on not that much volume. This was not a huge volume candle here for IBIT. So we did have this move up here. above 33.70. Let's take a look. People saying Bitcoin let's take a look at Binance here. Bitcoin, what are you up to there? Are you doing something for us? Let me pull this up. How we do over here? Okay, why will it not? Don't worry, we'll figure out exactly what we're doing here on Bitcoin, on the cryptoed one, BTC USD. Where are you at? BTC USD here, yeah, 59.3. So we're definitely above that area we had earlier at 58, but we are still below that 6,000. Also, I want to point this out here as well. I talked about this on the daily or on the crypto update, but there's a level here in Bitcoin that I think is really interesting and worth talking about, and that level is that 58,000. That was definitely some support we had here coming back early May. Then look at how we kind of wick into it and pop back up here. That was going to be what, late June? Then early July, we kind of see a lot of resistance of this level. Pop up, we rally hard, we sprint, we prance, we party above that 58,000 level. Then we come back below, we wick up into 58,000 a couple times, come back up. Now we're rejected. The point I'm trying to make is 58,000 to me is deeply interesting in Bitcoin. The fact that we're bouncing up from it is not super surprising to me. But yeah, that IBIT pop, not a lot of volume. Back up that IBIT pop. Yeah, so shut down, but not shut out of these markets. Tomorrow's a new day. Breathe, reflect, aggressively journal, and talk about Sharif's trades.
Yeah, right. Ben, we would have like 2 lines worth of talking points. There, to be honest with you, everything is really kind of bamboozling me today. The reason is because we got a nice new high on the NQ, and you're seeing pullbacks aggressively on some of these Mag 7 names, save and except for Microsoft and Nvidia. You kind of feel that Nvidia, the king of the bunch, we don't call it the monster for no reason. You kind of feel single-handedly today keeping this market afloat, and there's a whole lot of correlation between the 5-minute on the NQ and the 5-minute on NVDA, and that's what we talk about when we look for confluence between some of these names, the Mag 7 and the futures indexes. So very interesting. You're seeing the future at highs, Nvidia at highs, and most of the Mag 7 well off their highs. So one of these days where we see something different, which is fine. I mean, when we see different looks, it gives us more experience and we grow. At least I like to pretend that I grow as a trader. So keeping my eye here on Google. I've been waiting a long time to either get printed on the north side or get stopped out through the $0.50. There is an aggressive buyer, it would seem to me, at that 165.50. Obviously not reflected on the book, so you have to assume it's a bit of an iceberg. We'll see when that level breaks. Here we go again, showing 50s right now on the bid. Let's keep an eye here on the time and sales so we can see any big red prints. Red or blue is what I'm looking for right now on the time and sales. Red and blue, red is on the bid, blue is below the bid, exuberant sellers is what that represents. So all sorts of weakness today right now on the Mag 7 in general, but definitely, certainly not on the future. Or the NQ anyway. I should let you know that the Russell still outperforming the other indexes. The Russell's up 0.85, while the NQ is in third place here, 0.49, with the ES in second, 0.52, and the Dow lagging behind the rest, 0.41. We'll keep tabs on that. Was there any news headline for a Dow component today that could keep that bad boy down?
I wasn't.
That was that Apple headline that we saw with respect to Qualcomm, but
Yeah, it didn't really move much though.
No.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything
Okay.
on like nothing with like Walmart or
Nothing
Amazon or
Boeing
any of
or
those
anything like that, yeah.
giant children.
Okay.
No. Boeing.
Beauty. All right.
Boeing, did you see Boeing though on Friday afternoon?
No.
Right before the close, it came out that I guess JD Vance's like private campaign plane.
Oh, yes.
Was a Boeing, his campaign. And the campaign, I guess you would have some complaints about your campaign because there was some issue with that Boeing 737 that they were trying to look into. I remember I think he was like fine, but there were some issues with that 737.
Who's the carrier?
It was Boeing.
Oh, they gave him one of their own planes?
I don't know all the details. I know it was I
Interesting,
need to
very
find. I need to remember what that headline was. It came out right before the close on Friday. But yes,
I got you. No worries. Yeah, that's really interesting there. Obviously, the new CEO slated to change things. We'll have to see.
Kelly.
Yes. We'll have to see if he's able to turn things around. A company that I like, but hasn't done well. So let's get back. Oh, let's look at some of these small cap gappers because I feel like we haven't been showing them any love. All right, it looks like as if Upstart is right back into that high a day. We know that that $40 level was a key area of resistance. Right now, we just printed $40.05. We are below 40 though. UPST. Double top, question mark. I mean, it's not going to cost you all that much to find out, probably about 14 pennies plus the spread or the slippage, if there is any, and usually on Upstart there is. If you got in short at 91s, right now we're 92s, and you put your out above 05s, maybe 11s, whatever, you're not risking all that much at highs, but you are taking a low probability trade because this is definitely a counter trend trade. It is 8.5% in the clear. It has no catalyst though. I should make that point very clear. UPST is without a catalyst on the day. And that to me is quite suspicious. Up 8 2/3, lacking a catalyst. So yeah, this may invite some people here, Ram, to want to get short at this $40 level because it is lacking that catalyst. So here comes, nope, not yet anyway. $40.06 now. UPST continuing to print newer highs on the day, albeit by not that much. But it is still certainly in play. Just like my Google trade, for whatever reason, still involved in this one, haven't been stopped out, but it's lulling me into an absolute trance at the moment over here with this 165.50 holding up over and over and over again, not stopping me out nor giving way at that level. That's all the while, well, the future's continuing to stay above 19.7. It just goes to show you that, it's not always a symbiotic relationship between the Mag 7 and the future, Dara, because sometimes the Mag 7 are zagging. The future's quite directional today, at least it seems to me. 19.525 low, 19.706 high round. So
yeah, I mean, I definitely think too it's huge because some of the trades that can be the most frustrating are not the ones that you lose on. They're the ones that you watch and wait for hours and days, and they do nothing. Nike last week. But sometimes you have those days, and the biggest thing is to just hold them, wait till you're level. So I want to show that out because that type of patience can be like literally painful.
Oh yeah,
like there's packing your patience, and then there's like having to buy extra carry-ons for your patience because you've had to pack it for so long, and the stock is done. Up kiss. So that's different. Keep that in mind, but make sure you vote. Shout out to Bears vs. Bulls last call. You have 7 minutes left here, like the length of, I don't know, a really long song. Get in that chat, exclamation point, join. There's some good long songs. Guys, shout out to lengthy songs. Kendrick Lamar's got a couple 12-minute songs that are dope. But get in that chat, exclamation point, join, space, $, ticker. Maybe it's Nvidia, maybe it's AMD, maybe it's Google, maybe it's ticker. ALZN, maybe it's PLTR, I don't know. Shout out to those tickers. Get in that chat. Let us know what's happening there. Also, yeah, this AMD is going to be tweeted about by me on my Twitter at tradertv.live because I have so many reflections on this. Sometimes you're right. Like, honestly, if there was a trade to get shut down on, I think it would be this AMD because I believed in this. I pushed it.
It's a level.
It was a level. And I got out bottom wick. And so we're going to be doing some aggressive journaling. I can't, be too hard on myself about this. I like this. There were some trades earlier that arguably should not have CrowdStrike that I could be reflecting on. But honestly, I'm not going to cry over this AMD trade. I'm going to learn from this AMD trade. I'm going to aggressively journal over this AMD trade. That's one of the biggest things. Yeah, Elon, unfortunately, no to that AMD long. I was in it. Got stopped out, got shut down. Now it's at 153. But that's why, honestly, I'm going to learn from this. You watch this and you're like, well, this could have gone better had I had more risk. How would I have had more risk? Maybe not trying 3 strikes on CrowdStrike. I don't know, right? So making sure you're only getting involved in trades that you're really confident in, that you have that confidence, that verdict, that you're not bored to death by. Shout out to CrowdStrike and also your Google right now. But yeah, that's the biggest thing here. Shout out to Tom. I love this pun. Living La Nvidia Loca. Living Nvidia Loca. Yeah, I guess if you're long, you're definitely living that Nvidia Loca. That is for darn sure. Also, you showed it. Someone was calling me Yawn Era in the chat. That's actually pretty funny. Sometimes the chronic exhaustion does catch up more than others. But honestly, you guys know these markets always wake me up. They always keep me excited. So I showed it to Courtney Smith saying, don't doubt yourself. I agree. Like, if you don't believe in yourself, who's going to believe in you, right? I still believed in the AMD. Clearly, the idea was right. but everything about the execution was gross, and that's what journaling's for. That's how you learn, because sometimes the market, as you said, will make you feel like this big.
Oh yeah.
And then you just have to come back the next day and be like, no, market, I don't care how you want to make me feel. I feel good about myself.
Absolutely.
I like what I'm doing. I like what I'm trying to do here. So always next trade. Sorry, guys, I'm not going to be in the sim for the last 15 minutes because I need to do some like screenshotting of stuff here. And also because I don't, like I said, if I'm trying not to trade while tired, I don't think trading in the sim while tired is like in my opinion. So definitely need to work on that. But you know what we need to work on as well is calling Google a punk. It looks like it is still not moving that much.
No,
How are you doing?
Well, the good
You were
news
not prepared
is,
for that transition.
no, I wasn't. But yeah, I think it's apropos because, we obviously we're zagging. It's apropos because the future is at a new high and Google is stuck in a range. So it's a lesson in context, guys. I want to mention a couple of other things over here while I watch myself fall asleep watching Google. No, seriously though, 419 seems to be a bit of a local resistance level right now on Softy. 3 doji candles of essentially indecision at this level with decent ranges per candle each. 419 to the high side for all of them, essentially 418.75 to the downside. So about 25 pennies worth of range on that level. So Microsoft, I guess, trying to break above these highs over here. The other one, AAPL, beautiful move up off that double bottom. Again, not double bottom, sorry, clear area of support at 223.75. That area of support has been in play essentially since 11 o'clock onwards, 10:50 once we took that 223.75 on a closing basis on this candle over here. And Apple's been in a gnarly range. One thing I can comment about Apple is that if you're looking for some sort of discernible trend other than this 223.80, 223.75 being an area support level, we are putting in lower highs. So essentially we're able to break through VWAP aggressively, 224.75 there on this crest. We are at 224.50 was as good as we could do. And now we're talking about VWAP here. If we reject off VWAP, 224 1/3. So incrementally lower highs for AAPL, not necessarily though lower lows. Hence, we could get a flat bottom break if this market flushes off 19.7. Doesn't look like it is at the moment right now. New high of day on the future, 19.711. We're holding above 19.7 right now, but you're not seeing directional moves on any of the Mag 7 names, save and except, of course, for the monster Nvidia, which is basically 10 pennies off the high. So Nvidia awfully strong, another 3% day for Nvidia, and it feels like a really, really, really long time ago that this was sub 100 and trading. I think it was like high 90s, mid 90s, whatever it was. Let's go to the 4 hour there and get a look of what Nvidia did. Yes, this one did dip into $90.82. I think they're $90.79. That was obviously in the pre-market before the bell rung. The bell, I think we opened up a little bit above that. But this one was on sale on that Black Monday, the Monday that everybody keeps getting upset. We called it Black Monday because it was only 5%. Let me tell you, it was deeper than 5% in the pre-market. We opened up at 5%. So Neil wants to make a correction. He said Black Monday, the real Black Monday, went down at the open, not up. That's not how we traded 2 Mondays ago. We gapped down aggressively at 4 a.m., continued to trade down into that 9:30 print, and then 9:30 we popped up. And, it's being called by some analysts as the stupidest sell-off ever, right? Because nothing fundamentally changed with any of the companies that sold off. All we got was a liquidation of some carried positions from this yen carry trade, which apparently is being put back on, depending on who you're listening to in the market. So we shall keep tabs on that. Google, nothing doing there. Adara still holding on this one, still above 165.50. I'm not taking it out unless it breaks. So call me crazy or call me very stubborn, which I am. But in either case, you can call me what you want. I'm still not taking out the trade.
Yeah, so I'm working on my tweet right now for this AMD. Check out Trader TV Adara. I'm literally typing out that tweet right now. Funny too, because at first I was like, maybe the issue here was that I was over trading. I did trade like 8 names, but I had very few fills today, and I've noticed there's a correlation between the days I got shut down and the amount of fills I have. And it's usually less. So that's really interesting, right? I only say this to share. I think it's really important. Back testing, not just strategies, not just tools, but also like what you're doing. Like, is it making sense?
Oh, yeah.
Are there patterns you're noticing that things get herky-jerky? Are you noticing you're yawning a lot on days you're getting shut down? Things like that, right? You really just want to be reflecting. I think that's really important. Also, shout out to R. the Bruce saying his mustache is epic. I would only guess that's referring to you because I don't think it's referring to me, and I'm pretty sure Trent doesn't have one either.
The handlebars are a little bit off it.
I
wasn't
wouldn't
feeling the
notice
handlebars, to be honest with you.
Yeah, shout out to the mustache there, for sure there. I just saw that chat and I was like, we got to shout out the stash. A&D currently at 153. Like I said, I'm not trading anymore today. We will be doing, oh my God, so much journaling tonight. I think about stocks and trading a lot, and so tonight I would literally probably be like you know, playing on my piano sad songs, but like AMD, why? But no, you know, that's how, like, honestly, you learn through taking L's. As a certain rapper that I reference a lot on the show sometimes says, taking less L's, making more M's. So that's something I'm trying to do. Jay wants to know about Fubo. Fubo, yeah, Fubo took a little bit of an ouchie here. It's still up about 17.5% to be clear, but we did not hold on to $2. Those first breakouts into 2 were kind of interesting. Now schloomp to the downside, lower highs, lower lows. I gotta say, the fact that we're bouncing off that like sort of resistance support area, barely kind of here in the pre-market at 177 isn't bad, but I'm kind of squinting to find that resistance area, so I don't really know if that's super of note. 9 to 5 grind. I love your name, and I like what you're trying to say here as well. Just sitting in the long in the second half of the days, the ranges aren't enough in the afternoon. That's a fair point. Sometimes the midday gives you different moves. I do think there are opportunities to be taken. It's just like, how are you taking them? Why are you taking them? You know what I mean? I think that's something really huge, something to reflect on, and that's why I really like this community, because we get to see what different people are doing. Like, you know, shout out to 9 to 5 grind for sharing your strategy. What are you guys looking at, though? I'm not trading anymore in the rest of the day, so I want to see, you know, I want to be calling Google a punk on Sharif's behalf, but also because, you know, that's something I can do from this.
Hey.
You know what I mean, Sharif? That's something I can do any time of the day. No worries. So yeah, anyone in the chat, PLTR and SMCI says wisdom ways.
Sorry, I just want to talk about this one, Adair, because it's breaking up through highs. SOND, guys, small cap gapper, really getting aggressive here. Great support and resistance flip between this one. A lot of respect, but there's definitely a seller at 6. We rejected 6 initially. We got to 620, and here we are back at 6. Can't seem to clear through it. A lot of respect for the 20 exponential, as you can see here. Also, flip from resistance to support. This is the level I'm talking about. 484 or whatever, 4 mid-80s. That's the high. We reject, we clear it, we come back down. Lo and behold, this candle over here takes it at 486. So keep your eye out on SOND. What a great move. It was on my radar earlier, but it was waffling a little bit below VWAP, a little bit above. Then we got the big boy direction there at about 5 afternoon. We rocketed up into 620. Came back down. We breached 5, by the way, but that's why this mid-40s, 480s, excuse me, hold is important, because it's a flip from support to resistance to support. We're having a whole lot of issues right now at $6. As I can see this thing, it's about a 5-6 penny spread, which you don't want to see on a $5-6 name. At least I don't want to see it, because that's the cost of doing business, getting in, getting out. It's going to cost you right there. $6. Keep your eye out on that one. Lots of momentum and good volume on this one. $65 million market cap, 25 and a third million shares, 10 million share float. And let me tell you what the short float is, SOND, 8.6% for this name. So about a little bit less than 10%. Good look there for SOND. I want to talk about Fubo for a second. Obviously, intraday, it's been a good look, yada, yada, yada. It's up on the day, but it's now selling off. Now, what I want to say about Fubo is this. Oh, what is going on? Why is my... Oh, I was looking at the wrong one on Google there. I'm like, how come I'm not stopped out? It's at 40s. That was GOG, not Goog. Okay, so I want to wax poetic about Fubo for a second. This company and DAZN, D-A-Z-N, some of you guys know it. This company came into this country, those two companies came into this country, outbid our telecom companies like Bell, like Rogers, which are multi-billion-dollar companies, outbid them for the rights to the Premier League, for the rights to the Champions League, and they want to complain about not having enough money to take on American conglomerates, but you can come take on Canadian ones and push them out and basically not democratize the market at all for that, because only a small niche of people will actually have access to those streaming services. So what I say to you is, it's convenient for you when you can out-muscle and out-money the Canadian telecoms, but you can't hang with the American ones because they're too big, so now you want to sue. Yeah, no, I mean, it's the way it is, bro. It's quite annoying. because, you know, obviously I have cable included with my condo fees, and I have to shell out money for this stupid company, 25 bucks a month, and there's so much bloatware. They suck. Anyway, that's my little angry rant for the day, Dara, and I'm just going to leave it at that. I took about 6 pennies on Google as it popped up. So I was able to get out of this one without losing any money. Kind of happy about that, but that's the look. I'm going to weasel on up to the big desk, and I'll see everybody at the green screen in about 5 short minutes. See y'all.
Yeah, I can't believe that time flew there. Shout out to Sharif there with those trades. You had that awesome Nvidia long with that one, what was that, 127 breakout, so I want to shout you out for that. Also, shout out to Google for not being a punk in the end, so good luck there. Also, Wisdom Waves mentioned SMCI, and SMCI I've now put on my side chart because I feel like you have to find types of stocks that you can trade. I love spready names that do volume, so why am I not trading SMCI? I have no idea. SMCI also is in some gorgeous levels here. Look at that 626, okay? We get a little bit of a, you know, a little pop up here. Continue the higher highs, higher lows. Then we below the 90 EMA viciously. After bouncing at 626 a couple times, drop below. Look, now we're rejecting 626. I like this look. I also find it interesting that we have a bit of a support resistance slip here at that 623 and change. I think this is an interesting look. I think that SMCI is a stock I need to have my eyes on more. But yeah, really nice look there for S to the M to the C to the I. That's what I'm going to be keeping an eye on here. Also, what else is it? Oh yeah, Zim. This is another one's a little heartbreaking. I had this short in Zim, got stopped out. Should have definitely played this differently. Literally, I don't even think 10 cents from where I get out. This thing finally gives you the drop and it quadruples. I should have been following this a lot better, but that's the point of reflecting. That's what's really great about reflecting, and that's why I'm really happy. You know, like I said, I'm now posting on that Twitter because I think it's really important to have these times to reflect. But also, Luis Vasquez, as we head into the end of this midday session, asking a really great question that I really want to answer. What is the Jackson Hole and where does it start? It is in Wyoming. Is where it is. It starts on Wednesday and it goes till Friday. And what it is basically all of these economic policy leaders coming together to meet up. The theme of this year's Jackson Hole, which is this week, is assessing the effectiveness of monetary policy. That is quite a weighty theme to have, as people are maybe expecting a rate cut in September. So I like what the Fed's doing here. I think this can be really spicy. There was an interview a while back there, Q&A with Jerome Powell, I think like early July, maybe late June, where they were talking about what happens at Jackson Hole. They talk about how Jerome Powell made a great pun. He says, we hike and we talk about rate hikes, which I mean, shout out to Jay Powell with the Jay Powell puns. But either way, I think it'll be an interesting event. We'll give you coverage for that. Also, you can check out the week ahead, which we post on this channel on Sundays, because there are a lot of details on the Jackson Hole. So you can go down a little Jackson rabbit hole about the Jackson Hole ahead of that. Only 2 minutes left here, guys. What a day. Are there any other stocks people want to take one last look at? Christian Simone saying that the last 3 Jackson Holes were bad. Yeah, I know there was the 2021 Jackson Hole we know was not very 2020 fun for anyone who was along there. So I think that'll definitely be an interesting look to see what occurs here. But yeah, they should be definitely interesting. Nvidia, I'm sure, will be looked at ad nauseum here to get into the end of this this next show. For $5 in the money for Sean. He said to me with like the coldest stare in his eyes. So shout out there to Sean, Killer Katina. Good vibes, Katina. Certainly feeling some good vibes with that awesome Nvidia long. Look at that pop up here, 127.40. A little bit of holding that resistance area and pushing hard. You know what the thing is too? It did give you these opportunities when it overcame these carries of resistance to buy back in. So that's something I want to be reflecting on. Missed opportunities indeed, because you had that when you popped into 125.60, right? Drop below. Rest. Fly. Look again what happens at 127.40. You get the same thing. You'd be over $1 in the money if you followed that. So I think that's what's really, really great here with this market is you get to reflect, you get to learn every single day. Sometimes you have really rough days like, you know, today, but the market is back there tomorrow. Maybe it'll punch you in the face. Maybe you'll punch it in the face. But either way, you'll have a great time. And I hope you guys had a great time with us today. One last super chat as we go. Willis Addison, $2 super chat, trading from the boat today. Fish and Nvidia calls. I'm sure you're pleased as punch if you're in those Nvidia calls. But we're pleased as punch to see you guys tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat channel. We have Sharif, though, on the green screen. Let's go.
Welcome to the Afternoon Rundown, the show where you decide what we talk about every day. Neil and Sean, they're locked, they're loaded, they're